Normal POV. Four best friends, who graduated from the academy 5 months earlier and were introduced to their team along with spending some time with them and going on missions with them, are now sitting at the top of the Hokage monument watching the sunset disappear into the horizon. The sky now is pink, orange, purple and dark blue due to near nighttime, and it's quiet breezy, but it's still warm. The four best friends met each other at the age of 5 at the park. These best friends were Sakura Haruno, Ino Yamanaka, Hinata Hyuga and Tenten. Konohagakure looks so peaceful, Tenten mused watching as the lights turned on at the streets. I know, and it always clears my mind, Ino said looking down to the academy. It always calms me down when I get too over-emotional, Sakura said peacefully looking at the sunset and birds that flew in front of it. I know it always makes me wonder what the next day would be like, Hinata said in a quiet tone. She grew out of stuttering after spending some time with the girls and they showed her how to be confident. Nay, what do you think of your team? Ino asked the other, giving them a side glance, then went back to watching the academy. Lee and Guy-sensei always say youth in like every sentence, and Neji. He talks about destiny the whole time, like, it's your destiny to do this and, it's your destiny to do that, seriously. Tenten said, and making her voice like a chipmunk when she talks about destiny. Kiba-kun is nice and kind with me and Shino-kun is really quiet and mysterious. Kurenai-sensei is at least interested in my abilities and she is like my mother, Hinata said, having a soft smile on her face. Shika is always lazy, just lying there and watching the clouds, and he keeps saying troublesome. Choji never stops eating and is really kind to me, like a brother I never had. Asuma-sensei is smoking all the time and I never saw him not smoking. And to add to that, I know he has a crush on Kurenai-sensei. Ino said, grinning widely. Kakashi-sensei is pervert and reads this book called Icha Icha, plus he didn't tell us anything about himself except his name. Naruto Baka is too loud and keeps talking about him going to be Hokage one day and ramen. Sasuke-kun is quiet and always say, HN, and he talks to Naruto Baka mostly because he is his best friend. He barely acknowledges me. I'm like the fourth wheel here, already on the 5th month. Sakura replied sadly and let a lonely tear escape her left eye. Tenten, being next to her, noticed this and said, don't worry, Kura. If you feel like a fourth wheel there, then don't feel like that with us because you are involved in our group. We all trust you and tell you everything. Every embarrassing moments and every little secret we have. Even our crushes. So don't feel sad, okay? She put an arm around Sakura's shoulder. I am already considered weak by my team. So are Ino and Hinata. Ino and Hinata smiled at Sakura kindly to make her feel better, and it worked really much when she smiled a tiny smile, but it was still a smile. Sakura giggled. What's so funny, billboard brow? Ino asked, confused. Why don't we name our group so we would be known, nay? Sakura replied, giving a wide grin. That's a good idea, Saku. Hinata said, her eyes filled with happiness. All of them went into a thinking phase and came up with various names. How about Hikari? Hinata asked, looking at the sunset. Maybe let's get more ideas first, Tenten said. Maybe, flower girls? Ino asked, and they all looked at her weirdly. Nay, maybe just a simple name would be fine. Like, Kunoichi? Sakura said, having a soft smile on her face. All of them stopped thinking then and looked at Sakura slowly with a blank face. Then 3, 2, 1. They all broke into a wide grin and said loudly, hi, maybe we can add that to our outfit to show others that we are a group because we aren't seen together lately. Hinata stated a matter-of-factly. Let's go. The clothes don't make themselves. Ino broke through the silence. They all nodded their heads with big smiles and took off. They were discussing their thoughts about their new idea at their own house they bought when they were younger. All of them lived together around central Konoha, and Sakura asked Hiyashi to get permission for Hinata to live with them. If you call saying death threats, scaring the family with the shadows, and showing inner Sakura talking her mind, asking, I got no training tomorrow. Kakashi-sensei is training the boys. Sakura said sadly while tears gathered in her emerald green eyes, but she forced them back by a hard blink. Same, Tenten said, disappointment flashing in her chocolate brown orbs, but disappeared just as quickly. Ditto, Ino replied, hurt showing clearly in her baby blue ones. Me too, Hinata agreed while betrayal can be seen in her pearly white orbs. No time mourning for the boys. They will meet the new Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Tenten in a few days' time, Sakura said while smirking evilly but then turned innocent again. Tenten smirked back. Ino flashed a smile and Hinata's eyes had an evil glint in them before they too turned back into complete angels once again. Okay, what colors do we all like? I personally like purple, blue, red, peach and green, Sakura said while staring at the ceiling of their living room. I like blue, purple, peach and yellow, Tenten said while she was going around looking for the makeup. I like blue, cream and peach, Hinata said, twiddling her fingers in a shy way. I like purple, peach and blue, Ino said while fiddling with her elbow warmers. Okay, so the colors we all like are blue and peach, Sakura answered while going for the nail polish. Yes, now let's look for the necessaries. With that said, they all went to look for anything with blue and peach color. Sakura found baby blue, dark blue, ocean blue and baby pink, that some people mistake it for peach, nail polish. Ino found some baby blue colored decorative jewels. Hinata found peach colored fabric with baby blue swirls pattern. Tenten found black eyeliner and peach colored bandages. Okay, so we can paint our nails, put on some decorative jewels, eyeliner, bandages and a new headband, Ino concluded while the others nodded and looked at their collectives. If we found all these, there is no telling that we have any more colors around here. Does every one of you have anything light blue? Sakura asked them all. Hi, they all answered while nodding. We all have the same training outfits in that color, Hinata spoke without the stutter. She only stuttered around the boys but not with the girls who are actually her half-sisters. Good, we'll show them who's the boss. We are starting training tomorrow morning, Tenten said with confidence. The others nodded, bid good night and went to sleep. Morning, crack, thunk, thunk. More than 50 trees were either cut, fallen or destroyed. A huge crack in the ground and moving shadows were displayed. Nobody knew, but Sakura was blessed with the power of controlling shadows as if they were her own arms and legs. Just one command in the brain and the shadows do what Sakura wants them to do. Tenten was blessed to be able to talk to nature. This is a good thing for she can speak to them and find anything and anyone anywhere there are plants and trees. Hinata can turn into either water or air, which gives her the advantage to sneak onto her opponents. Ino, with her clan's mind-switching technique, developed this jutsu even more so now she actually stay conscious but her mind goes into her opponents and makes them confused and unfocused. With her hands in the tiger seal, Sakura cried out, Kaden. Onidoro, several circles appeared around her as fireballs with the shape of a demon floated with ease and then they all aimed at Tenten. Tenten had different plans however and instead said in a quiet whisper, Sweden. Seryusho, a big blast of water erupted from her palm and headed straight for the approaching demon lanterns. Some demons escaped and went straight towards the trees, which were set on fire at once they touched. Sakura sighed while bowing her head. Not good enough. Never good enough. Ino rushed towards Hinata and just before she got 2 feet near Hinata, she disappeared into purple petals. She then appears behind Hinata and throws an explosive tag at her. Hinata, having already her Byakugan activated saw it coming, but then she whispered, Kaden, and spun around while a blue chakra shield appeared around her and it threw the useless explosive tag away. Kekkei Genkei is so useful for some people. Girls, an urgent woman's voice, which they recognized as Shizune's, screamed out. You were summoned for the Hokage's tower immediately. With that said, they ran out of the forest, down the streets and along the familiar path that goes to the Hokage's tower. Knock knock. Sakura pushed the door open after hearing the firm, come in, and went into the room with Ino, Hinata and Tenten trailing after her. They bowed deeply, Tsunade-sama. The woman before them knew how their team treated them and she has done everything to make it work better, but the boys were just stubborn as a donkey and the information that their female counterpart is suffering doesn't get into their heads. I tried all the ideas I had with the boys but they just can't get the message. So I sent them all on a 3-year-long mission. When they come back they will see how much you lot have grown, Tsunade said proudly. She has seen them train before and was quite impressed so she took them under her wing. She taught Sakura how to be a medical ninja, Tenten how to summon the weapons, Hinata how to develop a new jutsu with the Byakugan and taught Ino how to stay conscious throughout her clan's technique. They were like the perfect daughters she never had. Here, I have something to give to you, Tsunade then proceeded to reach into her top drawer, where she got out an old wooden box of what seemed like cherry wood and gently smoothed her hand down the dusty surface. She then opened it to reveal 5 golden chains attached to the top while 5 pendants rested on a golden cushion. The sunlight hit the pendants and it created a rainbow effect. These pendants belonged to the past goddess of fire, water, earth, wind and light. Pele was the goddess of fire, Tethys was the goddess of the sea, Gaia was the goddess of earth, Zephyr was the goddess of wind and Thea was the goddess of light. This all they have left behind for the next generation. Which is you? At the last sentence, the girls thought that all the air was sucked out of their bodies. Next generation, next generation, next generation, was all their mind could think of. So, we are the new goddesses? Ino asked breathlessly. Tsunade just nodded her head with a smile. Wow, okay? Good God. Never thought so, Tenten whispered, Hinata squeaked, Sakura breathed and Ino said in union. Tsunade smirked. Sakura, step up for me. Sakura walked over to Tsunade while the latter took a golden chain and attached the big fire flame-shaped garnet pendant. She then gently clipped it around Sakura's neck. Sakura bowed and wordlessly lined back up between Tenten and Ino, who admired the necklace. Hinata stepped up while Tsunade got the second chain out and the big droplet-shaped azure pendant. She attached the two and clipped it on Hinata's neck. Hinata bowed and moved next to Tenten. Ino moved to stand in front of the Hokage. Tsunade got the third golden chain out and the star-shaped citrine pendant. She attached them and clipped it around Ino's neck. Ino admired the stone while she bowed and moved to stand next to Sakura. And Tenten. Tsunade got the second last golden chain out with a maple leaf-shaped emerald pendant. She clipped them around Tenten's neck while the latter bowed and went to stand between Hinata and Sakura. The pendants reached just below each girl's S while the chain traveled down between the twin mounds. Because the pendants were big, they had weight and it outlined the shape of their chests. The stones on the pendants hold the powers of the elements it represent and you must protect it. It should never fall into the wrong hands. If they do, the whole world could be wiped out in 10 seconds flat, Tsunade spoke. Tsunade-sama? Hinata meekly asked. Why are there 5 pendants instead of 4? Tsunade smirked and got a map of the 5 great nations out from her drawer. She spread it out while she pointed to the country that said, Wind Country. There is a girl in Sanagakure that is the last goddess. The goddess of wind. Currently she is being talked to back in the desert and by now she would be expecting you. Just a guess, is it Temari? Tenten asked eagerly. Yes, it is her. Sakura and Tenten squealed. Hinata smiled widely while Ino was just grumpy. She didn't like Temari that much since she introduced Shikamaru to her. Your mission is supposed to be a D rank but because you are going unprotected and with a great power, it will be changed into a B rank. You are to escort Temari here safe and sound. Tsunade explained while looking at each of the girls. Sakura, I entrust you to take this box with the last pendant and keep it safe. Tenten, you are the leader of this mission, understood? Everyone nodded as Sakura tucked the box out of Tsunade's outstretched hands. That is all. Dismissed. They went home and into their separate rooms. Since this whole thing of the team ignorance, they changed their clothing styles. Sakura and Tenten wore the baby pink nail polish, while Ino and Hinata wore the baby blue one. The clothes they wore before, if they are not peach or blue, they burned it. The outfits from before had different colors so they changed it. Sakura's dress style remained the same, but it was now a light pink. Her shorts remained the same black, they all agreed that black would be accepted, and her ninja sandals were the same. Her hair, instead of having it loose, she tied it up into a high ponytail and it was being held up with a baby blue ribbon. Also she cut her long bangs until they only went down to her eyes. Her forehead protector remained the dark blue it usually was but it was now kept on her forehead. Ino's outfit went from purple to baby blue. The bandages became peach-colored and her ninja sandals were the same blue. Her hair was still up in that high ponytail but she had the baby blue ribbon holding it back. Her bangs were cut to only go down to her forehead with a little curl. Her forehead protector was around her forehead as well. Tenten's shirt remained the same, being peach or light pink colored, and her pants became black. Her ninja sandals were the same blue and so was her forehead protector which she still kept around her forehead. Her twin buns on her head were tied back with a light pink ribbon. Hinata's jacket became baby blue while her pants were black. Her ninja sandals were the same blue as well. Her forehead protector was now on her forehead while her bangs were pulled back with a baby blue silk headband. Black stars were drawn under their eyes. On the back of their shirts, they all wore a black K letter with a yellow sun behind it and the leaf sign on the sun rays. Sakura was the one to be done first, so she went outside and waited for the others to get ready. 2 minutes later Tenten and Hinata came out from the door and now they were only waiting for Ino to come out. She did come out, 10 minutes later. They all looked at her with annoyed expressions but Ino just blinked at them innocently. Tenten sighed and started going on the familiar streets which led to the village entrance. Sakura followed suit with Hinata and Ino hot on her heels. "Nay, I think someone will get pretty happy when we get to Suna," Ino chirped. Sakura, Tenten and Hinata looked at her. Ino just grinned like Cheshire Cat pointedly towards Sakura. Hinata and Tenten caught on pretty quickly and they grinned at Sakura just as much. "What? Gaara is so going to squeeze you alive in a hug." Tenten giggled into her hand. Sakura blushed but managed to put on an bored expression. "So what?" The three just looked innocent and continued on towards the gates. Sakura sighed and followed short after. At the gates, Sakura saw how much shadow it creates and suddenly got an idea. "Hey, instead of running, why don't we fly?" Ino, Hinata and Tenten looked at her as if she was crazy but Sakura just smirked and pointed a finger at the shadows. It moved and became 2 large birds. When they were standing, they were as tall as the girls. The rest of the girls stared at them in awe. "Come on, Temari is waiting." Sakura then jumped onto one of the birds and straddled it. Hinata came up and climbed behind her, her arms holding Sakura's waist. Tenten immediately ran to the other one and sat on it. Ino went behind her and attached her arms around Tenten's waist. "Ready?" Tenten asked everyone. "Hi." The 2 birds gave a screeching sound and with one flap of its wings, it took off into the clear blue sky. The trip towards the desert was a little difficult in the wind territory when big sandstorms threatened to travel higher into the air and attack if needed. The birds were constantly swaying in the air but Sakura concentrated on keeping them still. Hinata had taken her place at the front while Sakura had her hands in the tiger seal and had her eyes closed in concentration. It was rather a ticklish feeling of having the shadow bird vibrate, with the chakra Sakura was giving off, under them. In total, they have been flying for 4 days. It would have taken a week by running non-stop. Soon as heat was unbearable on the sand but up in the air with the whistling wind, it was a little cooler to travel with. "I see the buildings up ahead." Ino squealed while pointing in front of her with one hand while the other still clenched Tenten's waist for protection. The sandy brown round buildings were still small from this height in the distance. "Oi, Kura, we don't need the birds anymore. We are full on chakra and we can run for the last minutes," Tenten shouted over the wind. Sakura nodded and commanded the birds to disappear. They jumped off them and dropped through the air until they hit the ground. They gathered chakra into their feet and started to run north, where the sunset outlined the building's shapes. At the entrance of the village, they were stopped by the guards who were about to demand what they business are here until they noticed the necklaces around the girl's neck and the leaf symbol on their forehead protector. They bowed and apologized for they thought they were enemies and that the Sand siblings were waiting for them. They sped off towards the cage tower, where they knew they could find Temari, simply because she was giving off a killing intent. Finally arriving at tower, they went through the entrance and walked down the hallway towards the room on the far end. "Knock knock, can we come in?" Tenten asked jokingly while opening the door that separated them from Temari and her 2 brothers. The killing intent almost immediately disappeared when Tenten entered, followed by a joyous Sakura and a smiling Hinata, with a scowling Ino came in shortly after. "Guys," Temari uncharacteristically squealed while jumping to give them all a hug, surprising Ino. Kankuro and Gaara's sweat dropped at the scene, but nobody can miss the slightly softer expression Gaara has upon his face once he laid his eyes on Sakura. The girls blinked at the attention they were getting but they all had a happy expression on their faces, even Ino who was scowling before. When Temari released them from her group hug, Sakura caught Gaara looking at her and her expression became even more happier, if that was possible. Panda-chan. Poor Gaara didn't have time to react before he was nearly crushed in Sakura's suffocating hug. Her expression clearly said, "If you decline my hug you will go through hell and back even if you are like a brother to me." He didn't dare open his lips to utter a single word out, even though he gave a choking sound when he was attacked with the tight hug. Kankuro tried to suppress his laughter, but Tenten caught him and he suffered the same fate as his little brother. Puppet-chan. Even if Tenten's expression said the same as Sakura's, he cried out and waved his arms around like a chibi. The rest of the people who weren't involved with this, Temari, Hinata and Ino, had a big anime sweat drop around their head. HMWEP MWE. Gaara's voice was inaudible from the hug Sakura was giving him. Temari laughed and said, "Come on you guys, I don't want to be an only child anytime soon." To which Ino and Hinata laughed too. Tenten and Sakura just released the guys, the boys both gasping for much needed air, and looked at Temari with glossy eyes and trembling lower lips, their speciality, the puppy eyes. Nobody ever denied this look before. Temari just shook her head, causing Tenten and Sakura to cry anime waterfalls. To stop them crying, Gaara and Kankuro hugged them. It actually worked. Girls? We should give it to Temari, Ino said. The sentence brought Sakura and Tenten back to reality and they stepped out of Kankuro's and Gaara's protective hugs. We can go to my room, Temari said while she opened the room and walked out and into the hallway. Her door was dark green that complemented her eyes well. Inside, her walls were cream color and the floor was made of oak. Sakura and Temari sat themselves on the bed, while Ino, Hinata and Tenten occupied the rest of the seating places. Sakura reached behind her back and grabbed her kunai pouch. She set it on her lap and began searching for the cherry-wooded box. When she found it, she took it out and set it between her and Temari. Said girl looked at it curiously. Complying to Temari's silent wish, Sakura opened the box to reveal a single golden chain clipped onto the lid and a pendant. This pendant was the shape of a wind type of swirl and it was a fluorite gemstone. Sakura attached the two together and clipped it around Temari's neck. "I think you know what this is about," Tenten stated seriously. Temari nodded as an answer and became cheeky again. "So, what's with the style of clothing?" Temari seriously meant it as a joke, but when she saw the anger, the betrayal and the evilness in the girl's eyes, she knew something was up. Sakura smirked evilly, Hinata smiled a sweet, evil way, Ino grinned crazily and Tenten had an evil glint in her eyes. "Our team started ignoring us. Our senseis only paid attention to them. Now, we will get our revenge." Hinata spoke with no emotion all the while her sweet, evil smile never leaving her face. "Okay?" Temari was dumbfounded. She never knew that the boys would betray her friends like that. She knows who is whose teammate and when Hinata said that their team started ignoring them, she knew that all the boys did so. Shikamaru too. Whenever she saw the teams with her friends, she saw them be happy and just be there. Not ignoring and leaving. It was just not fair on the girls. What did they ever do to the boys to deserve this? Okay, who is what element's goddess? Temari asked, curiosity returning. "I'm the goddess of fire," Sakura stated, gesturing towards her pendant. "I understand. You do have a bad temper," Temari joked, which Sakura took notice of, and she decided against hitting her friend. Normally, she would hit anyone who would say something about her bad temper. "I'm the goddess of Earth," Tenten said. "Yep. You were obsessed with nature when you were little," to which Tenten grinned at. "I'm the goddess of water," Hinata piped up. "Well, you are calm," Hinata smiled. "I'm the goddess of light," Ino said. "Yes. You actually shine most of the time," Ino nodded. "Well then I guess I'm the goddess of wind," Temari announced happily, to which the kunoichi laughed at. Temari joined in with the laughing. She felt at ease with these girls. A knock on the door made them stop laughing. Temari sighed. "Come in." The door opened to reveal the third cage, also known as Temari's father. His face was emotionless as he spoke. "The land of Oni is waiting for you to arrive," he then left. "Land of Oni, demon?" Ino asked confused. "I heard it's called that because that is where the demons live," Tenten said. "But we aren't demons," Hinata ground out. "We are considered one now that the spirit of the goddess are with us," Sakura piped up from Temari's bed. This caused silence among the kunoichi and Temari. They were not sure how much time they spent in silence, but they knew that it was quite a long time once they looked through the window and saw it was dark outside and the night sky was lit up with bright stars. "You can stay the night. We pack tomorrow, get back to Konoha and then we go to the land of Oni." Tamari said with sleepiness. The rest nodded and settled down on the seats they all occupied. They will need a good night's rest. Bekwa say they still need to get ready to go to the land demons. The sun blinked over the mountains of Sanagakure, sending a silent message to everyone, informing them that a new day has just begun. A pair of glazed-over chocolate-brown eyes opened and was shut again from the harsh sunlight. A fisted hand rubbed the sleep out of them before the silhouette sat up and stretched her aching body. Maybe sleeping on the comfy-looking chair was not such a good idea. Tenten yawned and last night's events came back to her. The trip to Suna, Konkuro's protective hug, Temari's necklace, the message from the land of Oni. At the last thought, Tenten wasn't so sleepy anymore. Shaking the others awake, she only had to wait a few seconds for their brains to function again, and then Ino, Hinata, Sakura and Tamari ran around the room gathering things like crazy. Tenten just had a sweat drop. Sakura stopped though, finally realizing that she didn't have anything to pack because this wasn't her home. Seeing what she has done, Sakura paled, swooned, then promptly dropped anime style. A sharp cough distracted the other frantically searching women in the room, and all of them looked towards the doorway to see Gaara and Konkuro looking at them with amused faces. Sakura made the shadow rise from under her and she threateningly showed it to the two boys while her appearance changed to that of inner Sakura's. Her hair became black, her skin paper white, white eyes with black pupils and black outer eye. You say something about this and you're as good as dead. The threat did get through their heads and the boys cowered away from the she-devil aka inner Sakura. Gaara was sure that Sakura was the devil disguised as an angel. Same with the other girls. Inner Sakura sighed. She had done her job on threatening the now chibi men. Returning back to normal, Sakura let herself fall to the floor with her legs outstretched in front of her. When do we need to depart to Konoha? Tamari asked with a delicate blonde eyebrow raised. In an hour. Get ready, lady goddesses. Konkuro jokingly bowed, but Tamari punched him on the head. He cried anime tears as he held the big pink bruise that grew from his head. Get out, now. Tamari raised her voice at the end and Gaara and Konkuro didn't wait 1 second to follow these orders. The group of girls burst out laughing while they gathered Temari's necessaries. How long do we have left? Hinata asked as she sat down on Temari's bed. About 10 minutes, Tamari replied as she looked at her alarm clock on her nightstand. It takes 7 minutes to get to the gates. Might as well go early, Tenten said from her place, leaning against the wall and looking out the window. Let's go then, Ino exclaimed as she was already at the door with her hands on her hips. The 4 others sighed and went to get to the gates in time to say their goodbyes to Gaara and Konkuro. And they were off to Konohagakure, then to the land of Oni. With Konoha had 12 boys and the 4 senseis. They were sent out for a long-term mission. They were to go to the other ninja villages and form an alliance. What do you think the girls will look like when we go back? Kiba Inuzuka asked as his companion, Akamaru, barked in question. They could look like anything but they would still need to be protected, Sasuke Uchiha spoke with an emotionless tone. Agreed, Neji Hyuga said coldly. And this was what they thought of them now. But in a few years' time, it would be quite the opposite. 3 years passed since their teammates and senseis left Konohagakure on that long-term mission. Reports after reports were received from them on how the boys' training was doing and that the senseis are extremely pleased with their progress. Though the last message they sent made Tsunade's blood boil in rage. Dear Hokage, we have decided that we need 4 new kunoichi to complete the 3-man team, and we have already chosen them. They are very skilled in combat and cooperation, and our students approve of them full-heartedly. We did not forget of our students back home, so please inform them that they are no longer needed on the now full team. The boys are improving more and more each and every day, and we wouldn't like to slow them down with Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Tenten, who were and, no doubt, still are, the weakest link in the original team. Yours sincerely, KH, KY, AS and GM, the senseis of a happy team. The last sentence after the initials made her rage go up 10 folds. She have shown every letter to the 4 kunoichi, who has returned from the land of Oni a year ago, and they always made funny remarks after they read them through. What they said about this one was, we have decided that we need 4 kunoichi to complete the 3-man team. We are here, you know. Ino have said the first sentence in a chipmunk voice, then screamed the second one out. They are skilled on combat and cooperation, my ass, Tenten snorted out. Ah, I'm touched. They did not forget about us. Hinata have said this in a touching voice, then she mockingly said the second phrase in a happy voice. Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Tenten, who are and no doubt still are the weakest link in the original team. How can they know this for sure? Sakura huffed with a disgusted voice. Wow, the senseis of a happy team? That's just low, Tamari have commented as she read the last sentence on the letter. She have become a Konohagakure ninja, as requested by Tsunade, though she does the missions that includes going to Sanagakure. Kakashi must have forgot the phrase he have taught Team 7. Those in the ninja world who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are lower than scum. Sakura have said this happily. Then when she got to Team 7 feet, her voice broke a little. Today though would be different. Today, the group will return to Konohagakure from the 3-year-long mission. Front gates. Instead of Azumo Kamizuki and Katetsu Hagane guarding the gates in the little wooden space, it's Sakura and Ino, who have volunteered to be with Sakura to get back a few minutes with her rival. Sakura was unwillingly chosen to go this post today, and both she and Ino knew that Tsunade was playing matchmaker, again. The young-looking Hokage have purposely tried to get them to date, her excuse being, I want to be an auntie soon, to which the group of 5 kunoichi have destroyed her office in fury and embarrassment. Oh, and the Hokage monument have lost a small piece of stone from the place Sakura have made Tsunade fly into. That girl have hit the Hokage, and the latter just took it jokingly. Here they were now, sitting at the hard wooden chairs in the wooden stand, bored to the core. Now they understood why Izumo and Katetsu hated this job. It has nothing entertaining in it, just watching the trees on the opposite side. It was practically taunting them that they were trapped in a stand while the trees were basked in sunlight. This is not a job Anbu should do. Oh, did I forget this fact? Pardon me, here we go. During the 1 year since they have came back from the land of Oni, they have reached Chunin, then Tokubetsu Jonin, but they have skipped Jonin, as requested by the Hokage, and they have been offered to join Anbu, another request by the Hokage. They have accepted of course, liking the way they earn respect. They are required to wear their masks at all costs, even inside the village walls. Each of them had different colored masks with different designs. Sakura had a white tiger mask with red outlining for the accessories and around the eye holes. The red representing the element she was the goddess of fire. Ino had a white lion mask with orange outlining for the accessories and around the eye holes. The orange representing the element she was the goddess of light. Tenten had a white bear mask with green outlining for the accessories and around the eye holes. The green representing the element she was the goddess of earth. Hinata had a white fish mask with blue outlining for the accessories and around the eye holes. The blue representing the element she was the goddess of water. Tamari had white hawk mask with gray outlining for the accessories and around the eye holes. The gray representing the element she was the goddess of wind. They all knew that the boys were to return today. That's why they didn't want to be anywhere near the gates, or the village in fact. Both Ino and Sakura were in full Anbu gear, consisting of black clothing and gray chest armor, metal arm guards and gloves, ninja sandals with spikes for traveling into mountainous regions, 3 ninja pouches on their back waist and a signature spiral tattoo on their shoulder. They also carried a sword that was strapped to their back. They entertained themselves as they activated their different colored eyes. Sakura's eye bled red and it glowed like fresh blood through the eye hole of her tiger mask. Ino have erupted into a fit of giggles and promptly fell of her chair. Their physical appearance didn't change much at all. Their hair was still long, reaching mid-thigh. Ino's bang have grown long, reaching to the bottom of her. Sakura's hair was still up in a high ponytail, held back by a red ribbon, but 2 thick bangs framed her face. All 5 kunoichi have matured over the years, and let's just say, they have gotten an unwanted male attention. The population of single males in every village or town they visit stop and stare at their body like it's a piece of meat. Tsunade can't blame them though, because their bodies have filled in their clothes very much. With their goddess powers, they have earned a small friend, who are spirits. Sakura gained a floating fire flame that was the size of a baseball, and it had small, narrowed and glowing red eyes. His name was Kaden. Hinata gained a floating blue droplet, the same size of Kaden, and it had small, narrowed and glowing electric blue eyes. His name was Sweden. Ino gained a floating yellow star, the same size of Kaden in Sweden, and it had small, narrowed and glowing orange eyes. His name was Kotan. Tenten gained a floating green leaf, the same size of Kaden, Kotan in Sweden, and it had small, narrowed and glowing emerald green eyes. His name was Doden. Tamari gained a floating ball of silver air, the same size as Kaden, and it had small, narrowed and glowing gray eyes. His name was Futon. They appeared when their owner wishes to, or when they sense that their mistress is in danger. Right now, as Ino got up and back into her chair, Kotan appeared next to her, while Kaden made his own flashy appearance as he sat on Sakura's shoulders, though never burning her clothes. I can feel them. They are nearby. Maybe 5 minutes until they arrive. And I can sense 4 unfamiliar chakra signatures with them. Kaden have spoken up as his red eyes gleamed with fury. Must be our replacements, Ino muttered with venom as she crossed her arms over her fully developed chest. Kotan looked at Ino worriedly, before he sat down on her shoulder and nuzzled her neck. Their spirits knew of everything that has happened to them in their lifetime, because when they have been in the land of Oni, they had the past goddess's power sealed inside them, and so, their spirit friends have been created. The fact that the spirits were boys didn't affect the girls from loving them. They're getting closer, Kaden growled out as his eyes flashed and flicked to the gate. I can feel arrogance, 100% the pricks of the group. And we both know who they're, Sakura smirked underneath her mask. Ino burst out laughing with her head thrown back as Kotan have gotten off her shoulder before you would get hurt. Sakura and Ino heard a slight buzz from their ear device and second later Tenten's voice broke through. I can already see them. Oh, ew. Those sluts are the girls that was supposed to be our replacements? How the hell can they be good combat and cooperation? Cooperation maybe when they are doing what they are good for in bed. Tenten, this subject is inappropriate. But I agree with you that they don't look good in anything. Hinata commented as she joined in with the conversation. Girls, don't be fooled so easily. Remember the time in the academy when they taught us the appropriate appearance that a kunoichi should look like. If you appear weak looking, your opponent will underestimate you and you will have a high chance of winning the battle, Sakura spoke. Well said. Both girls froze at the sound of a familiar bored voice that belonged to the famous copycat nin and Sakura's old sensei, Hitaki Kakashi. Kaden and Kotan have sensed them before they stepped foot through the gate and they hid behind their mistress, silently hissing like a cat. Ino and Sakura turned their heads slightly to look at them. Their rages are now off charts at the boring stare of their past sensei. Their teammates have looked at them slightly surprised of the Anbu masks but they returned their attention on their new teammate. HN. Welcome back you lot and welcome to Konohagakure you 4 inches Sakura said with no hint of emotions as Kaden hissed behind her. She then turned away from the group of ninja and started on reading a scroll. Ino joined her, not wanting to look at the men that have betrayed her. Talk to us once they're gone. Hinata's concerned voice broke through their communicating devices, but the girls stayed mute. The group of freshly arrived ninjas made their way down the dusty road slowly. Kakashi's and Asuma's mind dark with thoughts. These girls have grown. They watched the sun disappear behind the high cliffs of the Hokage monument. And it looks like they made it into one of the highest ninja rankings. Talk to us once they're gone, Hinata said with a concerned tone. Hina-chan, I don't want to break your concerned bubble but the bastards are heading this way. And fast, Tenten said as her chocolate brown orbs darkened with hate when she spotted the group. The Hyuga heiress let out a soft growl, her pearly orbs glaring into the distance. Over the years, she has developed a second nature next to her caring side. This side was animalistic and protective over her friends. You make one of them upset, you get a death wish. Simple as that. Tenten sighed and redone her green ribbons over her buns. The material was thin and silky, the beautiful color of the greenest of leaves in summer. The loops of the bow she made hung down silently next to the brown bun, the edge barely grazing her ear. The length of it went down to her shoulders. The cool summer breeze ruffled Hinata's raven hair. Her aquamarine-colored ribbon gently flew with the wind. Her ribbon was arranged to make a silk headband like all those years ago, though her hair grew out from being short to waist length. The bow was slid to the right side of her head, perfectly in line with her eyes with both loops hanging down, touching her shoulder. The length of the ribbon was shorter and reached her jaw. Their duty was guarding the Hokage Tower. When the two were given this position, they could have sworn that Tsunade's honey-brown eyes held an evil glint in them. Sakura and Ino said that the young-looking Hokage was playing matchmaker. It wouldn't be the first time. 16 figures became clearer and clearer as they closed the distance between themselves and the tower. By the looks of it, Asuma and Kakashi looked shaken up. Good. That's what they get for underestimating Ino and Sakura. Tenten? Lee was the guessing one. Said girl rolled her eyes under her mask. Lee, Hinata-sama? Neji asked unsure. He was a genius, so he thought that if Sakura and Ino were at the gates, and Tenten was here, then she must be his cousin. Neji ni-san, Hinata replied back, voice hard as ice. Tenten interrupted their staring contest. I suggest you go. Hokage-sama is waiting. With one last look, the group headed inside. Bastard meeting over yet? Ino's voice cut through the silence. Hi, did you see them? They look like a whore, Tenten complained. What did I say about their appearance, Tenny? Sakura lectured through the ear device. Not to fall for it. Tenten mumbled under her breath as she crossed her arms over her developed chest. Hinata giggled at first, then collapsed into a laughing fit as she heard Tsunade scream in her office, followed by many crashing noises. Maybe the following days wouldn't be so bad after all. Tamari was on a mission when the boys arrived, and when she saw the new girls, she quickly teleported away to the other side of the village and laughed so loud 3/4 of Konohagakure claimed they heard. But really, those girls looked ridiculous. Fake tanned, skinny as a twig, caked in makeup that made them look like a clown, outfit that barely covered anything. Really, what's there not to laugh at? Oh, and let's not forget a little detail. They were clingy like a koala. Their skinny arms were around 4 boys that looked rather uncomfortable about it. Poor Sasuke, Kiba, Shikamaru and Neji. Poor boys. Maybe if they hadn't given up on Sakura, Tenten, Hinata and Ino, they wouldn't be in this situation. Poor boys indeed. Well, Tamari thought to herself, now we know that the sentence in the letter was fake. The boys accept them full-heartedly, my ass. 2 weeks later. The girls were called the Hokage's office after 2 weeks of hard training. As they stood in front of the blonde, they could see pride in the honey-brown orbs. All 5 of them stood tall and proud as their necklaces gleamed in the sunlight. Sakura stood in the middle. Her hair was up in the usual ponytail held back by the ribbon. Her ribbon was as red as blood and was made of the finest silk. The loops of her bow went down to the bottom of her shoulder blades while the length went to her elbow. 2 thick bangs framed her cheeks nicely. She was in her Anbu gear with her sword strapped to her back. She also had a black cape on with the hood pushed off. Her Anbu mask was hanging in her hands. Ino stood on Sakura's right. Her hair was up in her ponytail that was held back by a ribbon. This ribbon was a sunny yellow color. The loops barely grazed her neck while the length went to her waist. A single strawberry blonde bang covered her right eye. She was in her Anbu gear with her sword strapped to her back. She had a black cape resting on her shoulder with the hood pushed off. Her Anbu mask was pushed on the top of her head. Hinata stood on Sakura's left. Her hair left down with the aquamarine-colored ribbon acting as a silk headband. The bow was slid to the right side of her head, perfectly in line with her eyes with both loops hanging down. Touching her shoulder, the length of the ribbon was shorter and reached her jaw. Her raven bangs covered her forehead. She was in her Anbu gear with her sword strapped to her hip. She has a black cape on with her hood pushed back just to reveal her face. Her ABNU mask was in her hands. Tenten stood on Ino's right, her hair in her infamous buns with the green ribbon hanging from it. The loops of the bow hung down next to the bun, the edge barely grazing her ear. The length of it went down to her shoulders. A few brown strands framed her cheeks. She was in her Anbu gear with a big green scroll resting just above her rear. She has a black cape on with the hood pushed back. Her Anbu mask was in her hands. Tamari stood on Hinata's left, her hair in the same 4 ponytails. She wasn't very fond of ribbons, but she still wore a silver ribbon around her hips. The bow was tied on her left hip with the loops going mid-thigh while the length went to her knees. She was in her Anbu gear with her big metal fan strapped to her back. She has a black cape on with the hood pushed back. Her Anbu mask was up the top of her head. It's time to show those stubborn men your strength. But without them knowing of who you are. Tsunade started. Ino, Hinata, Sakura, Tenten. Each of you will go to the 44th training ground, also known as the Forest of Death, but into different parts. Sakura, you'll go north, Hinata, you'll go east, Ino, you'll go south, and Tenten, you'll go west. Tamari will stay with me. I'll send your past team with the girl to you and you'll have to engage in a fight. At the end, you'll go to the building in the middle of the forest where you had your Chunin exams and then your identity will be revealed. Beforehand, your sensei will know who their team will be fighting. Understood? The 5 nodded. Cover yourself and mask your chakra. They're coming. Each of them did as told, masking their chakra first, then sliding their masks and hood over their heads just in time to hear the knocking on the door. Tsunade cleared her throat and called out, "Come in." The 4 senseis, followed by the 9 boys and the 4 girls, piled in. They bowed before they took notice of the Anbu in the room. It was pure luck that they didn't recognize the animal details of their mask, or they would know their identity. "I see you're all here. This is not exactly a mission outside the village gates. It's A ranked but can easily turn S ranked. Each team will go into the different parts in the Forest of Death and your job is to find the Anbu in there and fight them. So be ready for a surprise attack. Shizune, take the students to the forest. We'll meet you there." The black-haired woman nodded and led the boys and the 4 girls away. Tsunade's eyes flickered to Tamari before they glided back to the senseis. Tamari got the hint. "Guess I don't need to hide anymore, she said, shrugging. Tamari pushed back her hood and took off her mask, she and the girls enjoying the way the sensei's eyes widened in shock. "Tamari will stay here with you while these Anbu agents fight your students," Tsunade said. "Whatever, Hokage-sama." Tenten's voice had a teasing edge as she said the respectful name. "Take off your masks and hoods, ladies." Rolling their eyes, they took off their hoods and masks in order. Firstly Ino, then Tenten, next Sakura, and finally Hinata. They very much enjoyed the way their sensei can't seem to get air into their lungs. "We're off, Tsunade," Ino said, and in a bright flash, she disappeared. Rolling her eyes, Sakura nodded to Tsunade and disappeared in hot flames, leaving a little burn mark on the place where she once stood. Hinata shook her head and melted away into a puddle before disappearing. Tenten waved and disappeared, leaving a few green leaves in her wake. Tamari smirked and turned to Tsunade. "Let the mission prove everyone's growth begin." "Forest of Death, Shizune?" Kiba asked. She turned her head slightly to indicate she was listening. What did the Hokage mean that it can easily turn S-ranked? Shizune hid an evil upturn of her lips before answering. "The ninjas you are fighting are S-class and dangerous when they need to be." Before anyone could question that, a bright light shined and an Anbu stepped out. Then a flame erupted from the ground and another Anbu stood there. A puddle appeared and it slowly made a human silhouette. There stood an Anbu. A bunch of leaves circled, and when it stopped, the last Anbu stood there. "Okay, so as you know, my dear Anbu agents, each one of you go to one side of the forest. You may use your ear device and shoot your best jutsu, but make sure you don't kill them." Shizune chuckled. "Hi, Nei-chan." The 4 answered before disappearing behind the large wire gates. Shizune turned to the rest. "Team 7 will go north, Team 8 will go east, Team 10 will go south, and Team Guy will go west. Understood? Hi." And the teams left into the dark shadowed forest, never knowing what would await them. Team 7. Sakura sat on a tree branch, hidden by the thick leaves and branches. She didn't bother masking her chakra. It would be no use anyway. Sasuke would spot her with his Sharingan any day. "And they call you Anbu? You can't even mask your chakra at all. Right, Sasuke-kun?" The voice was so snobby, and so bitchy, that Sakura could hear Kaden growl in the corner of her mind. She turned her head slightly and looked down at the girl with hidden disgust. The skinny, fake-tanned, caked with makeup girl stood staring at Sasuke with pink hearts as her eyes. Sasuke, though, just stared up at Sakura. Onyx met emerald. Curiosity and questioning filled Sasuke's usually emotionless eyes. He had a feeling he knew this Anbu from somewhere, but where? Before he could think of anything, 4 shuriken flew at him, aiming for his head. He dodged 3 of them, but one was able to cut a thin scar on his pale cheek, a small amount of blood flowing out. And before the team knew it, the Anbu flew at them with a sword lifted in one hand. Out of instinct, Sasuke's eye bled red and 3 small black tomos spun around his pupil slowly. Naruto just barely got the girl, Sakura corrected herself. Naruto just barely got out of the way. By the disgust and anger in the girl's eyes, Sakura could tell that she wanted Sasuke to save her. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Sasuke yelled out and blew fire at the Anbu. Normally, because Sakura has the past fire goddess Pele's spirit sealed inside her, she would be unaffected if any kind of fire technique touched her. She wouldn't get any burns on her skin and only her clothes would get set on fire. But this time, she was wearing a cloak to hide her true identity and she wanted to keep it that way. And so, she jumped away and back into the welcoming shades of the shadows. Never forget, she is still able to control shadows. Referring to Chapter 1 Kunoichi. The darkness rose from the ground in the shapes of thorns and aimed for Naruto and I. Naruto quickly thrown a kunai at the moving shadow, but it just went through it. He jumped away just in time as the shadow wrapped around I and lifted her off the ground, her dark brown eyes wide and full of fear. The shadow pulled her up into the thick branches and disappeared from sight. Sasuke's Sharingan could still see I and saw that the Anbu grabbed her arm and fled. Team 8. Hinata wasn't sure what has gotten into her. One second she was in the safety of the trees, and the next she was by a stream sitting on the shore and watching the slow ripples on the surface. She silently blamed Suiden for this. Her water spirit had an innocent expression plastered on his face while Hinata had an accusing one. The snap of twigs brought the young Anbu out of her thoughts and the strong smell of perfume attacked her nostrils. What kind of ninja wears perfume? Even under her mask, Hinata could still smell it and she is currently fighting her dizziness. Suiden is helping her inside her mind, lending her his chakra to block that strong smell. When she turned around, the girl Mai looked smug and the boys looked a little uncomfortable. Well, as uncomfortable as Shino could get. His high-collared shirt covered the bottom half of his face and his shades blocked everyone from seeing his eyes. Whereas, Kiba's face was in clear view. What kind of ninja wears perfume? Hinata voiced her earlier thought. That's just pathetic, she added, and everyone can hear her smirk. Mai let out a war cry and shot forward. Illusion technique. Mirage, she whispered, and Hinata found herself in a genjutsu. Hey everybody, my name is Mai. Hinata turned around and found herself facing the large group of her ex-comrades and sensei. This was probably the time when they accepted the girls as their replacements. She would have loved to stay here and see just how the fuck did the girls actually become their replacements, but she had a duty to finish. With a sigh, Hinata cancelled the genjutsu. She thought that Kurenai was the only one able to do this jutsu. But that thought went away when the painful truth hit her like a ton of bricks. Kurenai must have taught her. Hinata sadly recalled that her ex-mentor never taught her any jutsus. Pull yourself together, Hinata. This is neither the time nor place to think about that, Suiden ordered Hinata. As Hinata stood up, a new goal was set. I will never let you win. With determination shining in her eyes, Hinata placed her hands over her necklace. Team Guy. Tenten was never a person to insult people's appearance, that was Ino's job, but she couldn't help saying that her replacement looked like a slut, a whore, and any other insulting names. Come out, she heard Neji call from below. As she looked down, she was the familiar veins pop on his temple. Tenten could tell that he was observing and analyzing her chakra pathway system. Just to humor herself, she flared her chakra to an unbelievable level and took pleasure in seeing Neji's white eyes widen and stumble back in his shock. A cold smirk touched her lips. You shouldn't play with them like that. Even if they deserve it, Doden O so kindly stated in the corner of her mind. Whose side are you on? How can your chakra level be so damn high? Her replacement yelled as she saw the love of her life stumble backwards and fall on his ass. She glared pathetically at Tenten. That is for me to know and you to find out, Tenten scoffed, unaffected by her glare. It couldn't even hurt a fly. With that in mind, Tenten lunged. Team 10. Ino sat on a field in plain view, the sunlight touching her cloak. She had no doubt that Shikamaru would recognize the animal details on her mask and know who she is. Ino, speak of the devil and the devil shall appear. Well, more like think of the devil and the devil shall appear. Whatever. While Ino was trying to recover from her near heart attack, her replacement looked at Shikamaru, aka her love interest, in shock. Did he know this slut? The girl huffed. There was no way she would give up Shikamaru. She will fight till the very end for him. Ino sensed her replacement's hate towards her, and a smirk that could even send Satan cowering. She turned towards her ex-teammates. Everybody who is nearby was able to hear the pain-filled shriek of Ino's replacement. At the gates, the shriek was so loud and high-pitched, it broke the sake bottle Tsunade was drinking from. One look at the broken pieces of her beloved sake bottle. Tsunade was out for revenge. The four sensei sweat dropped and Tamari smirked in amusement. It has begun. Hinata was the first to appear at the tower, her ex-teammates trapped in a water bubble, though it had oxygen in it so they won't die. Hinata smiled coldly when she saw Kiba screaming in his bubble as he was banging on the surface. It was also soundproof. Whatever the person in the bubble says or do, it will be unheard from the outside. Hinata walked over to the steps and sat down, entertaining her as she watched Kiba, Shino and Mai struggle to get out of their bubbles. Tenten arrived shortly with her replacement. Neji and Lee wrapped up in wines and covering their mouth with a thick branch as they tried to scream. Tenten was fully aware of their glares that bored at the back of her head, but Hinata could tell by her movements that she was enjoying every minute of it. She plopped down next to the Hyuga girl. Ino came out of the forest with her replacement, Shikamaru and Choji floating in the air with shining golden hoops around their midsection, ankles and wrists. The boys were looking okay but tired, and the girl was a different story. She had numerous cuts and bruises along her arms and legs and a black eye was forming. Her silver hair was cut in an uneven style, and the really revealing clothes were ripped on places that nobody wanted to see. Ino looked up to the building to see that eye, Sakura's replacement, was held in the air by a shadow that stretched from the dark mass the building has created. Out of nowhere, Sasuke and Naruto were held there too, bloody and bruised. The three were conscious and looked confused. Something blocked the sunlight and Ino looked up to only see the dark outline of a bird. Must be Sakura's shadow bird, she thought as she watched her best friend, rival jump down from the bird onto the ground. The bird, no longer needed, landed on the ground too and blended into the other shadows. Sakura nodded her head and stood straight just in time to hear a poof of smoke from behind the two dark-haired girls. Tsunade stood there with Shizune and Tamari, all looking smug. The four sensei observed their so-called dear students with shocked and disbelieving eyes as they took in their appearance. Good job girls, you have succeeded your mission. However, you boys failed it. Please take off your masks. Tsunade strictly ordered. The four girls rolled their eyes and took off their masks, but kept their hoods up. Neji instantly recognized the silver eyes of Hinata, and to say that he was surprised would be a lie. He was totally shocked. The wind blew a little and exposed a few thick strands of pastel pink hair. Naruto and Sasuke stared at Sakura with eyes wide as saucers and jaws hanging as they were still held in the air. Ino, Shikamaru growled out as he clenched his teeth. Choji looked shocked. Tsunade smirked and ordered them to let the boys and replacements go. The girls sighed and let them go. Sakura watched with a smug look on her face as Sasuke, Naruto and I fell to the ground from that height. Her shadow held them up. She smirked as she heard them groan in pain. As soon as Hinata's bubble popped, Kiba's loud voice echoed around the large red building, yelling that he can't believe Hinata would do such things and that this is all a joke, that the girls are Anbu agents. Shikamaru and Choji just sat down and glared down as if this was the ground's fault that they failed the mission. Neji and Lee felt the thick branch disappear from their mouths before they felt the wine squeeze their bodies tightly in warning before loosening and dropping them to the ground. With one last glare, the four Anbu agents disappeared into the forest. The boys watching them go with confusion, hurt, regret and pain mixing in their eyes. 4 weeks later, the boys were promoted Chunin, since they were genin when they left for their mission 2 years ago, and they often looked for any signs of the Anbu that they wanted to desperately talk to. They have memorized the pattern of their Anbu mask now, and when they get a small glance at it, they turn away disappointed that the Anbu was not the one they were looking for. Hinata, Sakura, Ino, Tenten, and even Tamari is enjoying this fact. However, they hide in the shadows with faces full of amusement as they see the disappointment shining in the boys' eyes. It was so much fun. Sadly, their replacements were not made Chunin. Note the sarcasm, anyone? Apparently they were too weak and freaked out to even step back into that doomed forest and wanted the love of their life to come with them if they even stepped foot back there. Tamari wanted to snort in laughter if she wasn't hiding. If we are correct, they thought, then we have a break tonight. That night, dressed thinly but comfortably, Kunoichi made their way to their favorite nightclub in the whole village, Night and Shine, located to the north. Sakura, with her hair out and flowing, felt at ease. The white shorts she was wearing were indeed short but not slutty short, and the wind felt cool to her legs from the daily usage of the Anbu pants. Her bright red halter top did nothing to hide her cleavage, as Hinata bluntly said, so it was no surprise that many males stared at her chest. It was an E-cup. Hinata, shy little Hinata, came out of her comfort zone, thanks to Ino and her clothing tips. She wore a short halter dress, pale blue in color, and it went to her mid-thigh. Her hair was up in a perfect bun, made by Sakura, and held up with her ribbon. Hinata's chest was the biggest of them all, receiving the most stares. Ino, as always, wore revealing clothing, though it was not the slutty type of revealing. She wore a tight hot pink sleeveless top that stopped just above her navel and a tight black mini-skirt. Her hair was let loose with her long bang covering her right eye, to which she got comments of making her look seductive. Tenten wasn't the type to dress up. She wore black shorts with a simple off-the-shoulder emerald green shirt. She refused any hairstyling, and so, she had her hair up in a simple high ponytail. Ino achieved some progress. At least she convinced Tenny to leave her panda bun hairstyle. Tamari accepted Ino's and Sakura's pleadings to come to the club. Tenten also convinced her not to dress up. Tamari seriously thought that she needed lessons to refuse Tenten's puppy eyes. She just flashes that pout, those sad eyes with tiny little tears, and everyone does as they were told. So here she was, dressed in red shorts with a beige halter top. Her hair was in the same 4 ponytails. Sakura Pav. The club was lit up with pink, blue, green and yellow neon lights. The security guard was tall and masculine, with dark sunglasses over his eyes and an ear device placed in his ear. As he saw us nearing the entrance, he lifted the red chains and let us through, completely ignoring the cloud of jealousy that passed over the women in the line. Ino gave him a wink too before disappearing inside. The music boomed loudly, crossing over the large room and bouncing off the walls. The DJ turned the discs at the booth as he bounced with the beat with his black headphones covering one ear. A sea of people danced at the dance floor. We sat down at the bar, ordering alcoholic drinks. Vodka, rum, Long Island, Grey Goose, whiskey. Even Hinata ordered alcohol. She needed it anyway. Stupid Hiyashi. I swear I could kill that man if I could. He has no reason to hurt Hinata. Poor, sweet, Ines. Fuck this shit. Never mind. Hinata stared at her drink as if it can give her the reasons why her father views her as weak. Poor girl indeed. I tucked a pastel pink strand of hair behind my ear and looked over to my friends. Ino was flirting endlessly with 3 boys in front of her. Tenten looked uncomfortable as a man older than us kept trying to ask her to dance. Tamari stroked a man's face with a finger seductively, and Hina. Poke, poke, poke. I looked to my right to see Hinata poking my arm with her index finger. I raised an eyebrow. Poke, poke, poke. Can you tell this man to back off? She whispered over the loud music. I looked to where she hinted with her eyes and saw a man sitting there, hungrily staring at my Hinata. Did you read correct? My Hinata. I had this weird ability to know a person's intentions, and this fucktard wants my Hina in his bed tonight. Oh no, no, no. Plastering a sweet smile on my face, I got up from my stool and went behind the asswipe. I leaned down and whispered in his ear, if you don't stop staring at her I'll burn you to ashes. To prove my point, I created a small flame on the tip of my index finger and showed it to the front of his face. I never saw someone run that fast. Suddenly I was grabbed by a blonde blob. Forehead. It's out fave song. Oh yeah, it's just Ino. Everywhere I go, when everyone who knows me knows that I would stand alone. It's all part of the game. The game, the game, the game. Somehow this song reminded me of our situation with the males of Konoha 12 and Kurenai. We danced on the dance floor, jumping to the rhythm. We, meaning the Kunoichi. When you said I can move on and go, you said I'm weak and it shows. I couldn't go on without you. Now you're sitting in your house alone, wondering why I left home. And I hoping that you know. Flash. HN. You're too weak to be on the team. Flash. Had to figure till I made it. And you tried to break it. Now you're trying to take it back. But you know that. I've been doing my thing. I've been running my game. And you know I won't look back. You know that. Flash. Please Sakura-chan, I'm sorry. Sakura, I didn't mean it. Flash. Everywhere I go, when everyone who knows me knows that I would stand alone. It's all part of the game. The game, the game, the game. I'm standing on my toes. To the sky I know. And you know you're the one to think. It's all part of the game. The game, the game, the game. We all play it the same. Flash. I looked up the sky, dark with thick gray clouds as the rain poured down on me. I reach up with my hands, standing on my toes already. I tried to get the clouds, to rip them away to reveal the sun again. To rip away the hurtful words to reveal happy and encouraging ones. The clouds cover the sun. The hurtful words cover Team 7. That was the day my team left me. Flash. As you looked, you saw me walking out. You tried to knock me down. I would go on without you. Now you're sitting in the mess you made. Now you're feeling my pain. And I'm hoping that you know that. Flash. I walked out of my house after getting ready for training, when I suddenly saw the dirt on the ground. Laughter reached my ears and I turned my head to see Naruto laughing hysterically and Sasuke was smirking. I did not train that day. Flash. I'm stronger cause you made me. You will never faze me. You can never take me down. Cause you know that. I've been doing my thing. I've been running my game. And you know I won't look back. You know that. Everywhere I go, when everyone who knows me knows that I would stand alone. It's all part of the game. The game, the game, the game. I'm standing on my toes. To the sky I know. And you know you're the one to think. It's all part of the game. The game, the game, the game. We all play it the same. I'm standing on my toes. To the sky I know. And you know you're the one to think. It's all part of the game. The game, the game, the game. We all play it the same. After this song we went home, carrying a drunken Hinata, much to our surprise. It was usually Ino. What are you going to do about them? Kaden asked inwardly. His narrowed fire-red eyes narrowed even more in hate as he thought about I don't know yet Kaden. We can hurt them at night when no one is looking? Sakura suggested. Maybe ask Tsunade about it. She might have a suggestion about it. After all, she doesn't like them at all anyway. Kaden told his mistress. Okay. With the conversation over, they left for home, fully aware of the lustful eyes staring at them, but never knowing that their ex-team glared at the men with a death glare. Next morning, the sun shined brightly over the village as it awoke the residents of Konohagakure. Onyx's eyes fluttered open as he heard a loud knocking sound from his front door. Sasuke Uchiha, you are needed in the Hokage's office. A groan left his lips. He sighed and got out of bed, ignoring the way his back popped as he stretched. Why do I have feeling this will not end good? He asked himself. Shrugging, he got into the shower. He stared at the white tiles on the walls as the water ran down his body on soothing waves as he thought back to the night before. Sasuke couldn't kick the image out of his mind. The image of Sakura in those shorts and halter top. He would have lied if he said he didn't ogle her like every other man did. He changed his mind eventually and glared at the perverts who dared to stare at his ex-teammate inappropriately. Sighing, he turned off the water and stepped out, grabbing a white towel on the way to wrap around his waist. He got out a black shirt with a raised collar and the Uchiha fan stitched onto the back with white shorts. He put on his ninja sandals and grabbed a tomato on the way out. The walk was short to the Hokage Tower. Sasuke saw Naruto waiting outside, unusually quiet. He raised an eyebrow at the blonde. In Uchiha language it means, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Naruto just shook his head and entered the tower. On the way, the blonde broke his silence. I saw Sakura-chan. Sasuke slowed down a little at the name, but kept going. So, do you not care for her Teme? Why should I? She's not part of the team. With that said, Sasuke sped up and opened the office door, never expecting what was to happen now. Shanuru. Boom. Crack. Sasuke was now on the floor, face down, with a huge crack on the wall behind him. Sakura stood over him in her Anbu uniform, mask attached to her hip, cloak nowhere in sight, fist shaking as veins popped on both her forehead and her fist. This was not going to end well. After the little accident in the Hokage's office, which left the building with yet another dent in their walls, Sakura headed out to the Anbu headquarters. She waved at people who greeted her at the streets. She sat in her office approximately 10 minutes later, flipping through the pages of a file. She has access to the most important information as she was an Anbu captain. This gave her advantage to research anything she wanted to know. As long as she didn't give the information out to the wrong people, she can read as many things as she can. Her green eyes scanned the pages and her eyes widened at different points in the report. The pictures that were clipped with the files were giving her the shivers. She now knew the reason why she bore the mark of a clan, yet was not part of one. Hokage Monument. The breeze carried his raven tresses around as he sat on the Godime's stone head. He looked over the village as the coolness soothed his aching cheek from that morning. Sakura can punch, he decided. Like some angry bull. The corners of his lips twitched into a smirk as he saw this older Sakura and compared her to her 12-year-old self. She certainly did change. Anbu Captain Office. Her hands shook as she reread the purpose for the murder. They all had a sharp eye, which can spot a genjutsu when it is activated. She gasped as a memory tugged at her mind. Flashback. Chunin exams. Genin, this is only the second floor. We are going to the third floor. Ah, I see you saw right through our genjutsu, huh? Genjutsu. Sakura. It is genjutsu after all. Can you tell? You have sharpest eye in the squad. Flashback end. The sharpest eye in the squad, huh? Then why did you deem me weak after that? Is it because I only cried? She continued to read. They possessed perfect chakra control, an advantage to the performance of a complex ninjutsu. They do not have any nature techniques, but have great knowledge of medical ninjutsu. Women in the clan were medic nin for generations, while men were more of a normal ninjutsu-style shinobi. What she read next left her cold. They do not come from Konohagakure. Their origin is Kusagakure. She wasn't originally from Konoha? Sakura's mind was spinning as the realization sunk in. She may not be originally from Konohagakure, but in her heart, she always belonged to this place, no matter her clan's origin. So why was she still alive? According to the records, everyone was killed from the Haruno. Is that why grown people stared at her strangely? Probably was. She was still just, what? 5? She didn't remember. Flipping over, she saw the answer to her questions. 2 people were not counted to be with the corpses of the Haruno. The Anbu assumed they were out of town. There was a bright green sticky note stuck onto the page with the writing she recognized as the Sandames. The family returned 5 years after the massacre and the girl, Sakura Haruno, will be attending the academy in hopes of becoming a splendid ninja, a wish from her parents. A splendid ninja? Are you looking down at me? Oka-san, Otto-san. Emerald eyes darkened in sadness. Her parents were killed on a mission when she was 14, a year ago. They were now 15, with the exception of Tenten, who is 16, and Tamari, who is 19, legally an adult. She sighed as she rose from her spinning chair and tucked the files back in neatly into the folder. She grabbed the pale blue folder and walked out of her office to the information storage. The heavy metal doors opened with ease and she walked in the room full of shelves and big cardboard boxes. She went to the box that said, H in big bold letters. She took off the lid and slid the folder into the box. Sakura prepared to go out the room before her eyes caught sight of the box with the letter, U. Now she could some more research, can she not? She took the box off the shelf and placed it on the floor. She folded her legs underneath her body and slid the cardboard lid off the box. The files were categorized neatly and alphabetically. She placed her fingers between 2 files and pushed the second one behind a little to peek at the case name. The file was not what she looked for. Sakura continued the process of searching before she found one of the files she was looking for. She grinned a little and took the file out. Sakura switched to the last of the files and continued her search from the back. When she found the last file she was looking for, she grinned like a Cheshire cat and placed the 2 files in a pile. She put the lid back up on the box and placed the heavy load back to where she took it from. Grabbing the 2 files, Sakura controlled her face to be straight again and left the storage to head back to her office. Sitting back down on her chair, she placed the files next to each other in front of her on the desk. The bold letters stared back at her and she knew that the information the folder contains were tragic. Biting her lip, Sakura grabbed one of the folders and opened it gently. The pictures that fell from the folder made her blood freeze in her veins. Now she knew why Sasuke was so traumatized. The corpse's lifeless eyes stared back at her through the picture, the Sharingan dull in its eye sockets. This was the Uchiha massacre. Fugaku Uchiha, clan head, was planning a coup d'état as the clan was accused of the Nine Tails attack on Konoha because of their ability to control a beast with their Sharingan. He entrusted his eldest son, Itachi Uchiha, to be a spy through Anbu. Itachi, however, betrayed the Uchiha and leaked information right into the village from the clan, therefore becoming a double agent. Danzo Shimura, a Konoha council member, convinced Itachi that slaughtering his clan was the fastest and the best way to avert, promising him that his younger brother, Sasuke Uchiha, would be spared. Sakura read to herself in a whisper. An Akatsuki member, who goes by the name of Tobi, entered the village before the massacre and aided Itachi in the killing. Itachi believed him to be Madara Uchiha. Emerald irises widened at the name. She quickly got an information sheet out and pumped chakra into the card. She got this technique from Kabuto at the Chunin exams. Madara Uchiha was a legendary shinobi who led the Uchiha clan prior to, and after the formation of Konohagakure. After allying with his rival, Hashirama Senju and the Senju clan, he and his clan helped in the founding of Konoha. Constantly competing and training with his younger brother, Izuna Uchiha, both trying to surpass each other, each has awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. With the power of the Mangekyo, the two brothers took control of the clan, with Madara becoming its leader. Under his leadership, the clan conquered all they came across. Because of the never-ending series of battles at the time, Madara eventually began to suffer from overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan, leaving him blind. In order to regain his sight, he took Izuna's eyes for himself, granting him an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan with which he led the Uchiha clan to prosperity. During the Third Shinobi World War, Madara saved Obito Uchiha from his death and told the younger Uchiha of his Eye of the Moon plan, and before he died, he told Obito to carry out his actions by his name. On the Nine Tails attack on Konoha on the evening of October 10, Madara forcibly extracted the beast from its host, Kushina Uzumaki, who was weakened from childbirth. He gained control of the beast using his Sharingan and ordered it to attack the village, which was revealed later on that the attack was another step of the Eye of the Moon plan the real Madara has created. Sakura shut the file and placed the information card back in her drawer. She picked up the other folder and opened it. The Uzumaki clan do not come from Konohagakure. Their origin is Uzu-Shiogakure, a land which the clan owned. Their hidden village goes by the name of the village hidden by whirling tides, which might be the reason the land was called Land of Whirlpools. Its ninja were renowned for their fuinjutsu to the point that it led to its destruction in war. Those who survived the village's destruction scattered across the globe to seek refuge. The people of Uzu-Shiogakure were noted to have notoriously long lives, so it gained the epithet, the village of longevity. Uzu-Shiogakure had close ties with Konohagakure due to Uzu-Shio's Uzumaki clan and Konoha's Senju clan being distant relatives. Because of this, all the flak jackets worn by the Chunin and Jonin level shinobi of Konohagakure bear the crest of Uzu-Shiogakure, symbolizing the strong friendship between both villages. This symbol is also emblazoned on some of the shoulders of the outfits that the Konoha shinobi wear underneath the flak jackets. Kushina Uzumaki was born into the famed Uzumaki clan of Uzu-Shiogakure. Kushina lived most of her youth being caught up in war, making her seek for a daily peace. At a young age she was sent to Konoha and enrolled in the academy. Kushina was eventually told why she had to leave her home of Uzushio and go to Konoha. Because of her special chakra, she was to be the next Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed demon fox. Before the transfer was performed, Mito told Kushina that love was the only way to tame the nine tails and overcome its hate. After some time in the village after she was given her shinobi forehead protector, Kushina was kidnapped by Kumogakure ninja who wanted to make use of her special chakra in order to gain control of the nine tails. Minato Namikaze, Konoha's yellow flash, rescued her from the Kumo ninja. Years later, Kushina and Minato married and conceived a child. Because she was a Jinchuriki, the energy from the seal was turned to the child in her womb and therefore, the seal has weakened during her 10-month Jinchuriki-influenced pregnancy. Special arrangement had to be made and so, it was decided that the childbirth would secretly be taking place outside the village in a remote location with Enbu guarding the area. Tobi, a masked Akatsuki member, found this all out and killed the guarding Enbu, the midwife and the medics before taking their baby hostage and threatening that he would kill the baby as well. The nine-tailed beast was forcibly extracted from the weakened Kushina and Tobi has ordered the beast to attack the village. This event now known as the Nine Tails attack on Konoha. The Yondaime sealed the Nine Tails into their son, Naruto Uzumaki. Dropping the files and slumping into the leather-black spinning chair, Sakura thought about both cases. Both mentioned death, the Sharingan. Green eyes widened as she sat up with the speed of lightning. The Sharingan, Madara and Tobi, and this Obito person. Wait, Obito is Tobi. It said that Madara told Obito to act under his name, and no more Uchiha were alive apart from Obito, Sasuke and Itachi. Danzo has a Sharingan in the eye he covers, and an arm full of the Sharingan, and Kakashi has a Sharingan eye, but that doesn't make them Uchiha. They don't have Uchiha blood flowing in their veins. Sighing, she put the files away neatly back into their folders, but did not return them to the information storage straight away. Instead she got out 2 blank scrolls from her weapons pouch and made a hand sign that copied both files into the blank scrolls. She got out an ink brush from the top of the desk and wrote Naruto and Sasuke on each of the scrolls. Placing the scrolls into her weapons pouch, she teleported into the information storage, nodding at the Anbu who was there, and placed the folders back into the box. With the scrolls tucked safely into her pouch, she set off on a hunt for her ex-teammates, fully intending on showing the information she found to both of them. As silent as a mouse, Sakura opened the window to Sasuke's apartment. The moonlight gave her the light she needed to see clearly. The Uchiha lay on his bed on his stomach with one arm under the pillow and the other fisted near his torso. She noticed that the curse mark on his shoulder shined in the moonlight. Silently, she stepped forward and over to his nightstand. She got the scroll with Sasuke written on it and placed it carefully on the wooden furniture. She was gone by the time Sasuke flashed towards the nightstand with a kunai and the Sharingan ready. Sakura's next target was Naruto Uzumaki. Just as she expected, his apartment was full of empty ramen cups. She stepped over the plastic cups on her tiptoes as she made her way to his bed. Gazing at his peaceful face as he snored loudly in his sleep, Sakura was reminded of the old days when they went on missions. Awkwardly looking around herself, she placed the scroll on his nightstand and disappeared in a muted poof. The only evidence that she was here was the scroll and the gray smoke that disappeared in seconds. She reappeared in the house she shared with her girls. Tenten looked at her with curious chocolate eyes. She just rolled her eyes playfully as she retreated to her bedroom. Sakura quickly changed into a short peach-colored nightgown which stopped teasingly at mid-thigh and went back to the living room. "Don't you think we should do something fun today?" Hinata asked as she sat on a pale blue beanbag that had Hinata stitched onto it with silver embroidery thread neatly. She wore a long white nightgown that went to her knees. "I agree with that," Tenten answered as she lay on her own light green beanbag with the Tenten stitched onto it with brown thread. She wore a deep green shirt with red shorts. "So do I," Ino squealed at the thought of spending a night with her girls. She wore a short nightgown that stretched from bright orange on the top to a deep purple on the bottom. With her light blonde hair, she looked like a sunset. "Me too," Tamari spoke. She wore a cream tank top with dark blue pajama pants. "Ditto," Sakura answered to them all. "Is it like a sleepover?" Tenten asked. "Yep." Tamari and Sakura cleared the furniture of their living room and created space for them. They all moved into a circle. "Truth or dare time." "Hinata, truth or dare?" Ino asked the shy Hyuga. "Truth," Hinata answered. What's the nicest thing about the person on your right?" Hinata glanced to her right, to see Tamari gazing at her curiously. Tamari's feisty?" Her answer came out more like a question. "True story, but you can say that to Sakura too," Tenten giggled out. "Hey, Hina, your turn. Tenny, truth or dare?" "Dare me good," her answer was confident. "Guess the identity of one of us while you are blindfolded." The girls laughed as Tenten pouted while Sakura tied the brunette's forehead protector over her eyes. The four moved out of the way as Tenten moved like a zombie with her arms stretched out around her to touch someone. They giggled and laughed when the brown-eyed girl nearly tripped over the fluffy white rug located in the middle of their living room. Finally, Tenten grabbed someone. It was Hinata. She touched and tugged lightly on her long hair before heading upwards. Her fringe, which never changed, was grabbed before the brunette smiled and said, "Hinata," before removing her forehead protector. They sat back in a circle. Tamari, truth or dare? Tenten asked the dirty blonde-haired woman. Dare, Tamari smirked. I dare you to humiliate my replacement in public. Both women whose name starts with a T grinned at each other. My pleasure, Panda Bear. With a silent command, Kunoichi disappeared in a silent mini-tornado, appearing in the shadows of an alley between two restaurants. They can see Tenten's replacement Yumi, bright blue hair now pale blue in the moonlight. Her equally blue eyes closed as a man sucked on her neck and grinded against the man's poorly concealed erection. With sharp eyes, Tamari spotted a cat killing a mouse, leaving a bloody mess where the mice's last moments were played. Before the cat could eat the mice, however, Tamari threw a recently sharpened kunai at the ginger-furred animal. The cat hissed before retreating and leaving the alley. With a little help from Futon, her wind spirit, the mice floated in the air, blood dripping from the claw marks and onto the ground. Just before the pair could engage in another makeout session, the mice have been thrown at them, the bloody animal sliding into Yumi's low-cut top, leaving a sticky scarlet trail in its wake. Yumi practically screamed bloody murder before shoving the man away from her and running off into the distance, her miniskirt flying and showing a frilly hot pink-colored thong as her at least 3-inch stilettos broke under her, forcing her to take them off and continuing on her merry way, as Ino have called it. This trick made Tenten's day. Soon, they were back in their house with the fireplace lit up, courtesy of Kaden and Sakura. So, Sakura, truth or dare? Tamari asked her emerald green-eyed friend. Truth. Ah, no fair. Are you still a virgin? At the question, Sakura face can rival the reddest tomato anytime. Private question Tem. The dark green-eyed female enjoyed the way Sakura was so embarrassed. Ah, come on. Fine. No, I am not. The shocking truth. Sakura is not a virgin. What? Why do I not know of this? Ino has exploded. She was known as the gossip queen. How? Ah, Hina-chan. You can pass as an angel but you can be evil sometimes. Damn you. Seduction mission. No more information to you. Humph. Fine. Ino was quite upset. But she understood that this was a private question. Ino, you can be such a darling when you need to be. So, Ino, truth or dare? The rosette asked her bright blue-eyed friend. Honey, dare me. I dare you to sing a song into a hairbrush. And no background music. There we go. Sakura can be evil sometimes, even more than this. Remember, never get on her nerves, or you'll get a death wish. Bitch, a whispered insult. I'll take that as a compliment. A rainbow of colorful words escaped the blonde's lips in a jumbled mess. She picked out a song. She sang it. A glass vase broke into a millions of pieces. Hinata got a headache. Enough said. Next game, Tenten wanted to move on. Dream dictionary time. The fuck? Tamari peered over to Ino's lap and saw a thin booklet on said blonde's lap. What does it say? Tenten was curious. And when she was curious, she will do anything to find out. Your dreams can reveal a lot about you and the way you are feeling. Ino read out, obviously if you dream of something, you tell me and read what it says. Who goes first? Well, last night I dreamt of going somewhere outside the village on a vacation or something. Tenten told the group. Aha. Abroad. Dreaming of traveling to foreign lands means that you are the adventurous type. You may be looking for a change in life. A change in life? Chocolate eyes blinked slowly. Well, I dreamt of a dog. Hinata was looking slightly down at the thought of a dog. It painfully reminded her of the male Inuzuka and his partner Akamaru. Dog, 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 dog. Dogs are a symbol of friendship. If they are happy and playful, you are surrounded by a good bunch of mates. If a dog is snarling and biting, beware, a friend may turn against you. Ino told the silver-eyed female. Last night I dreamt of a storm. Sakura looked thoughtful as she said this information. Storm. Silly squabbles with your friends will blow over soon, just as bad weather often does. Stay rational and resist saying things you don't mean, and things will be revealed soon. It's me next to my knot? I dreamt of flying. Tamari looked out the window and up to the starry sky. Flying. Flying fast and high indicates future success and fulfilled ambition. If you are having trouble taking off, you may be taking on too much responsibility in your life. Really now? Tamari looked bored. Well, I dreamt of dancing last night. Ino searched her booklet for her dream. Dancing. This means good times are ahead. Dancing alone is a sign that you are successful and independent, whilst dancing in a group means that you will soon meet new friends or even fall in love. Silence enveloped them. I certainly did not expect that. They whirled around to face an amused Godem Hokage and a silently giggling Shizune. Shisho, Sakura exclaimed with a slightly tanned hand over her rapidly beating heart. Her Shisho just grinned, honey brown eyes reflecting her entertainment. So what are you here for? Sakura, as you are probably aware by now, you have given confidential information to Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki. The information was held in the Anbu headquarters. Someone noticed that you have copied it. And I came here to tell you, a dramatic pause, that I do not give shit. Kunoichi and Shizune fell over anime style. For 1 second, Tsunade was serious, the next she's like an ignorant teenager. Stupid mood swings. Well girls, because I know that you were working to the bone, I give you 1 week off. Now, let's party. Stars appeared in the background as Tsunade held 2 bottles of sake, which appeared out of nowhere, and held them above her head. When the blonde opened her eyes, she was met by many anime white eyes. You know when their eyes become white and it's outlined by scribbles. It normally appears when they sweat drop or in Sakura's case, just before she punches someone, more likely Naruto, in the anime episodes. What? Kunoichi and Shizune just laughed it off and each grabbed a sake bottle, the bottles appearing out of nowhere, and they raised it in the air with a yell of, "Cheers!" Not long after, the females found them back in the circle, Tsunade and Shizune now included, playing the infamous game if, I have never performed a genjutsu before. Hinata drank from her bottle again with Temari too. I have never grinded against anyone. Tenten did the same gesture along with Sakura and Hinata. I have never lived without sake. Kunoichi and Shizune took a sip from their bottle, leaving Tsunade with an anime sweat drop. I have never had a bunny before. Nobody drank, forcing Sakura to do so. I have never liked my father. Temari took a small sip with Tenten. That was how the rest of the night continued. In the morning, Kunoichi find themselves feeling fresh and full of energy, instead of the really bad hangover Tsunade and Shizune are experiencing. Later, their spirit friends explain that the great power they hold cleans any alcohol from their system. Taking a stroll around the village, the first day of their 1 week off, dressed in their training clothes, they headed for the lake. It's time for Tenten, Ino, Temari and Sakura how to learn to walk on water. This reminds me, la 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 x9. I will never be afraid again. I will keep on fighting. Till the end. I can walk on water. I can fly. I will keep on fighting. Till I die. The song, Base Hunter I can walk on water. Cough. Okay, I'll stop. Hinata's training. Okay, it's like walking on a tree, really. You focus chakra to your feet and keep it there. Easy and simple. Hinata demonstrated the technique as she walked on the clear lake's deep blue water surface. Wherever her feet touched, small ripples were produced, but the raven-haired woman didn't seem bothered. If anything, she looked relaxed. The 4 remaining females copied her. Good Tenny. Just make sure you keep the same amount of chakra in both foot. The brunette nodded and tried again. Well done, Kura. Your chakra control helps you doing the task. Take advantage of it. Aha. Hours later, Kunoichi had the ability to walk on water with the grace of a swan. This task improved everyone's chakra control and further improved their battle skills on water. They had sparred against one another, which increased their stamina and reflexes on a constantly moving surface. This training worked better than Hinata thought it would. Temari's training. They are now on a huge, open field outside the gate's borders. Tsunade gave them permission to leave the village for training, because she knew that when they train, many landscapes would be either burned to ashes, Sakura, dampened and muddy, Hinata, sliced into many pieces, Temari, all color drained away from them, Ino, and nature would be moving by itself, Tenten. The dirty blonde grabbed her big metal fan located on her back, and opened in before her, hiding her body until only her feet and her hand on top of the weapon was visible. This was Temari's pose of defense. Now, we are going to spar above ground. Temari started. You are all going to fight each other in the air while I would be staying here on the ground, providing you the wind you will need to stay up. She gestured to her fan, which was next to her now. First things first, you need to learn how to balance yourself in the air. You never know, you might have a battle above ground level when you are forced to fight in the near future. Tamari showed them the pose that would allow them to keep balanced in the air. Legs slightly parted and knees a little bent, straight shoulders and back. They were ready. When Tamari concluded this, she grabbed her fan and sent a powerful gust of wind in her friend's direction. They were lifted into the air. The battle between two pairs began. Tenten versus Hinata, Sakura versus Ino. These battles were not to be easy. Tenten and Hinata. Silent tears, Hinata whispered as said liquid dropped from her eyes, trailed down her cheeks and onto her folded hands under her chin. 1 drop, 2 drops. That was enough for Hinata. Pressing a finger to her droplet-shaped, bright blue tattoo located on her right palm, her 2 teardrops glowed the same color as her tattoo before melting into the spot, and before Tenten knew it, a blast of water was headed her way straight from Hinata's tattoo. Rock barrier. The rocks on the ground shook lightly before they floated up at lightning speed in front of Tenten, creating a barrier for her from the huge blast of Hinata's tears. The battle continued. Sakura and Ino. Blinding light. From her star-shaped golden tattoo on her right palm, light erupted from Ino's tattoo, hoping to blind her opponent. Sakura, however, had different plans. Sacred fire attack. Sakura's whisper was carried by the wind. Her hand shook as her bright red flame-shaped tattoo glowed like fresh blood, before an enormous fire shoot out from said tattoo. Ino's robin egg blue eyes widened as the fire came closer and closer. This attack was, by far the most deadly among the fire justice. Just the slightest touch to the flesh would burn like crazy and the meat would burn away. She had to dodge. Using her knowledge she was not known for, Ino moved her arms in a circular motion, as if she was swimming, before she tucked her legs underneath her, then stretched them out, effectively moving her just in time. Sakura looked pleased with Ino's dodge. This battle was not going to be easy either. The 4 members of Kunoichi were now lying on the floor, panting while Tamari stood over them with a proud expression upon her face. Well done, the wind goddess praised, you have mastered the ability to fight in the air. You know the stance that is to be used. You know how to dodge and you know how to attack. This ability is S rank, but you made it seem like a D rank. Tired groans were Tamari's only reply. What did she expect? Sakura, the cute blossom that everyone loves, Tamari, the danger in the background, Ino, the bright light, Hinata, the caring little mermaid, and Tenten, the person who loves anything sharp and shiny. They were the Kunoichi. He week passed by fairly quickly for the Kunoichi. Sakura has been approached by both Sasuke and Naruto regarding the scrolls. It turns out Naruto has already met his parents when Kurama aka the Nine-Tailed Beast has encouraged Naruto into taking off the seal on the bars that kept him locked up. That was when he met his father, Minato Namikaze. The other time was when the whiskered male gained control over Kurama's power, and that was when he met Kushina Uzumaki. She helped him achieve this goal. He also learned what had exactly happened 15 years ago. I know that in the anime Naruto is 16 years old when this is revealed, but they are 15 in this FIC. Sasuke just refused to come to terms with the fact that it was a mission that his clan was murdered. He refused to accept the information written on the scrolls. He believed that it was right to kill his brother from his view of the events. Sakura has met Itachi a few times on missions. She made it a mission for herself to make Itachi open up to her. Their relationship was shaky at first, but now they are standing on the faint line between an acquaintance and a friend. In the time they had together, Sakura learned that Itachi loved Sasuke like any other brother would. Their bond was deep since Sasuke was born. She also knew that Itachi had an illness. He takes pills to longer his life as much as he needed. I want to die by Sasuke's own hands, Itachi has said, by my own flesh and blood. Sasuke needed to realize the fact that he was so into getting revenge that he can't think straight anymore. So this was why the both of them were training together at a lake, a rare occasion. He has asked Sakura to train with him, since she is an Anbu. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Dragon breath. They both dodged. Sasuke has improved. Sakura had to give him that, but she was not about to lose. Sasuke was thinking on the same lines. The fight they had from the mission earlier when the boys came back was only a little taste of her power. Sasuke quickly grabbed 8 shuriken from his weapons pouch, one in each space between his fingers, and threw it at the pink-haired Anbu. She dodged with grace. The battle continued on for hours until they were nearly drained from chakra. Sakura sat between two gigantic roots of an equally gigantic tree as she tried to catch her breath. Sasuke leaned on the tree opposite as he too tried to regain his beloved oxygen, which was much needed. Silence enveloped them in a slightly awkward moment, but it was mostly comfortable. How did you become Anbu? Sasuke's question caught the fire goddess slightly off guard, but it was answered nonetheless. They saw my skills and I completed the Anbu exams. Short and simple. HN. Sighing silently, Sakura got up while her legs wobbled underneath her. A pill was shoved under her eyes. She looked up to see Sasuke holding out the pill while he looked away. If she was 12 again, she would have squealed, but she was 15. She no longer squealed at the sight of any cute boys, no longer fawned over them. No longer a fangirl. But it would be a lie if she said her feelings for Sasuke vanished. Her love merely just turned into an act of affection, not a crush, not a blinding love. With a small smile, she accepted the pill. Goddess love. Sakura Pav. I lay on the roof, doing nothing as I stared at the night sky. A beige blanket was wrapped around me as the wind howled softly. The stars twinkled as I thought about today's events. I spent the whole day with Sasuke. I discovered a new side of him today, probably a side he has developed during his mission away from the village. This side of him was fiercely protective over his friends and comrades, always on high alert. He looked relaxed, but looks can be deceiving. The tenseness of his muscles told me that he was ready for any possible attack. I admired this side of him. Of course, I would willingly take a suicide mission any day before I admit that. He has slowly slid through my protective walls and he has reached my heart. He broke my emotional barrier. The barrier that I have created after Pele was sealed into me. Unconsciously, I looked at the red flame-shaped tattoo on my right palm. I can feel the power pulse in it. Sasuke and I have arranged that we would meet again tomorrow for some more training. He was practicing for his first Jonin exam. For some reason, I felt pleased. Goddess love. Sasuke Pav. I never would have thought that the girl who was so obsessed with me before my mission would become so powerful. Her presence made me feel warm and happy. What is this feeling? Goddess love. The days dragged by slowly, days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And now it was the Jonin exams. This exam was held in Sanagakure. Kunoichi was on a vacation to the same village. Currently they were tourists, but since Tamari was originally from there, the group was considered residents by the majority of the village, including the fifth case cage, our one and only Gaara. Poor Gaara and Kankuro. When Kunoichi arrived safely, they were immediately out of oxygen as Sakura and Tenten had them in a very familiar suffocating hug. Many races have been started, including running races, who can jump the highest, ramen eating contests. And to simply put it, they were always exhausted by the end of the day, but none of them could deny the amount of fun they had every day. Tenten and Sakura has ganged up and they are on a mission of their own. The mission name? Annoyed Tamari. Rank? S rank. Reason for rank? Tamari is a dangerous Tamari when annoyed. Reason for mission? Tenten and Sakura are bored. So far, it has been successful, but it wasn't over yet. Oh, it was far from over. Goddess love. Gaara and Kankuro were relaxing in the indoor jacuzzi in one of those rare moments when Gaara doesn't have case cage duties. This was a brother bonding time, as Kankuro put it. The male who Sakura has taken a liking to call Panda-chan could feel his muscles relax from the hot water. Gaara made a mental note to thank the pink-haired girl for suggesting him the creation of this jacuzzi, claiming that it helped ease the tension in the muscles. This was heaven. Gaara was snapped out of his thoughts when he heard a muffled shriek. He opened his eyes to see his brother covering his mouth with his hands while his eyes were wide and filled with horror. The redhead raised a non-existent eyebrow. I feel Temari's chakra spike like a bitch outta from hell. Gaara focused on sending out his chakra, scanning the area for his older sister. A common way to identify chakra signatures is by creating a mental image through the mind's eye. Every chakra signature is different for everyone, taking either a brighter or darker glow according to the person's intentions. The size of the chakra that circles each person indicated the strength of that one particular person. Gaara knows as a fact that Kunoichi has a huge amount of strength. Bright green eyes snapped open when he felt a very dark, very powerful and a very annoyed chakra signature. Oh well, not his problem. Goddess love. Get back here, little bitches. No, never. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. Ah, Ino. Hinata. Help. Ino and Hinata, being the good girls they were, sat at their wooden table in the great, sand, garden of the Case Cage's residence, calmly sipping their iced tea with at least 6 ice cubes within the drink while their so-called sisters were running for their lives from the Grim Reaper whom taken the form of Tamari. As Konoha 12's males stepped through the village gates with permission for entrance, they witnessed 2 flying blobs in the sky which taken the color of pink and brown respectively before they heard a scary voice scream after the blobs. And this is what you get for annoying moi. Needless to say, the men shit their pants. The next few days is bound to be fun. The vacation in Sanagakure has finally ended and the Kunoichi were on their way to their next destination, Kusagakure, also known as village hidden in grass. The travel would be at least 3 days long if they traveled by foot, but it would be a day if they flew. Sakura and Tenten both had a huge bruise on their cheeks as clear as day, but they still laughed about the whole situation after Sakura healed them both, being the medical ninja she was. Kusagakure is a very attractive place with giant mushrooms and gigantic trees. It's not a wonder that many people tend to get lost in the forest. If anyone looked up to the high branches of the trees, they would see 5 shadowed figures moving quickly. Kunoichi glided through the branches with the grace of a goddess and the speed of a lightning. Their destination was at a small hut they excellently covered with a genjutsu. Nobody can break it. That hut was a very important place for them. The place where they had learned the ways of a goddess. The place where they had created a strong bond. Ino cancelled the genjutsu once they arrived and immediately went indoors. The hut only held a bookshelf built into all 4 walls, containing scrolls and books about everything you need to know if you are a goddess. Basically, it was their personal library. If the information was discovered by someone other than themselves, the scrolls would burn to ashes as they can sense their owner's chakra. Every document is written in a language that was from the time the goddesses and gods lived, therefore nobody would have the ability to read it, unless they were like the Kunoichi. Sakura picked up her own book that said, Fire Goddess. Powers and abilities in that ancient writing. She opened the worn-out book that was once a glossy black, but now a smoky gray, the pages darkened with age and the text was handwritten, telling the reader of the author's observations and experience in a particular category. Pele had written all these books. Attacks. Sacred Fire Attack, short, long and mid-range. This attack takes the most effect when the user feels a deep rage towards someone or something. The user must think of a memory or a time when they felt anger and rage. This will make the attack more deadly and the opponent would have a low chance of surviving. Fire Explosion, long range. This attack will create an explosion of fire. The fire itself would make destruction to a large amount of landscape. It takes most effect if the attack is launched from the air. The rest was of the abilities of a fire goddess that Sakura had already read before. For example, when a fire attack is launched at Sakura, it doesn't affect her at all. No scars, no burns, no damage to the skin. Only the clothes get caught on fire. She has the ability to absorb fire with her seal that is placed on her palm. Whenever she needs to, the temperature of her skin could increase and whatever would touch her skin that is not part of her would burn as long as they have physical contact. Simple as that. Considering that they will be staying here for a while, Hinata, being the sweet little girl she was, offered to go and find some food. Sakura went with her. First, we need food. Try some fish and wild animals. We could also collect some berries. How does that sound? Sakura asked her pale-eyed friend. Yep, sounds good. Byakugan. Hinata activated her bloodline and looked around for any streams or animals. She caught sight of a deer who was eating the grass on an open field. She signaled Sakura to go that way before saying, "It's a deer. Go southwest from here but stay silent." Sakura nodded and flashed Hinata a smile before departing in a flash. Hinata sighed and deactivated her Byakugan. Closing her eyes, Suiden flashed before her eyes and behind her eyelids. Giving a small smile, his image blurred until it was darkness. Hinata opened her eyes and revealed beautiful bright blue orbs, the color of the calmest of lakes and rivers. With these eyes, she could spot any kind of water surface, no matter the distance. Finding a small river, Hinata leapt towards it. The deer that Hinata has spotted was moving about the field while eating the grass. It never realized that someone was tragedying it. The soon-to-be attacker hid in the trees, crouching on a low branch, but still high enough to go unnoticed. The glint of a very sharp weapon was covered by the thick leaves. Without a thought, the weapon was launched at an incredible speed. The animal dropped on the floor, a pool of blood slowly gathering around it from the wound in its neck. The weapon slid through the body part completely. Sakura dropped onto the ground in a silent crouch. Slowly, she walked over to the still bleeding animal and kneeled down next to it. A green glow surrounded her hand and Sakura placed it over the deer's head. The deer stopped breathing and lost its pulse. It was dead. Hinata arrived at the river sooner than expected. She spread out the arm that held the tattoo of a droplet in front of her with her hand facing straight down. A small part of the surface of the water began to shift. Ripples were created with the action. Her tattoo glowed a faint blue before the water started ascending in a thin line as her hand moved up. The water broke down, leaving 10 pieces of 8-inch-long, water senbons. They each glowed bright blue before they hardened into rock-hard sharp senbons. If Hinata didn't know better, she would have thought that they are real senbons. Hinata pushed her palm forward, the senbons diving into the water. She then lifted her hand and the senbons floated back into the air, with the fishes wildly struggling against it. They landed on the big rock in front of her. The water melted away and the fishes of the lack of water. Hinata searched her weapon's pouch before she took out a metal string and a senbon. She carefully attached the two. Hinata slid the senbon through the animals and she created a chain of fish. She ran back to the hut after gathering a big ball of water, Sea of Sweden. Tamari, Tenten and Ino sat inside the hut while they talked to their spirits. Futon, Doden and Kotan all appeared in their spirit form. What is our next destination? Doden asked them while trying to hide from Tenten's accusing glare. She still didn't forgive him for trying to side with her former team during the mission. Prove everyone's growth. Referring to Chapter 5, Never Underestimate Us. Otogakure. Sakura replied as she stepped in the hut while dragging the deer behind her. I just received a letter from Tsunade-sama saying that Otto was really quiet lately. Basically, it's an investigation mission? Tenten offered. Partly yes, mostly though, it's seduction, Sakura told them. We need to find Nori Takeshi, a noble from Otogakure and the leader of a group known as Baraku, which basically means black. We need to seduce the required information out of him. Which is? Hinata stretched the question out as she set the fish on the ground and put a genjutsu around the hut after she closed the wooded door. To find out if Otogakure plans on attacking something or someone. Sakura responded. Kaden and Sweden joined the other spirits near the bookshelf. Ino sighed. That's basically saying bye-bye to our vacation. Tamari nodded. Indeed. Sakura roasted the deer and the fishes while Tenten created plates and cups out of wood. Tamari used her wind technique to make sure there was no annoying splinters that would get caught in their skin. Ino created a ball of light and made them multiply, illuminating the room and casting shadows over objects that blocked the flow of light. Hinata waved the floating ball of water to herself and dropped a fair amount of the liquid into each of their cups. At the request of Sakura, Tenten created 5 small bowls of wood like earlier. Sakura put the same amount of berries that she picked on the way back into each bowl, blueberries and raspberries among them. Dusk has arrived when they started eating their meal. Eating all that meal made them sleepy, and they slept on the floor, neither too hard nor too soft, just perfect. They huddled closer to each other, relying on their body heat to warm them throughout the chilly night. As soon as Ino was asleep, the lights faded out. Goddess love, do I really need to do this? Yes, your body is the most developed. Fine. Tamari was dressed in a small dress that showed more than it hid. It was a fiery red, the color that Nori Takeshi likes best, and it ended 2 inches above mid-thigh. It was also a halter dress, basically showing off her curves and S. She wore 2-inch shiny black stilettos. Ino was in charge of her hairstyle and Tenten was to do her makeup. By the time they were done, Tamari looked like a real seductive woman. Tamari's hair was pulled up into a soft updo, with golden hairpins holding her bangs back, since that color went most unnoticed. Her eyes were outlined with eyeliner and the mascara did wonders. Hinata applied silver eyeshadow and a little blush. Her lips were a nice pink color, the color of Sakura's hair. Tenten gave her a medical needle with the cap secured safely across the sharp metal. Tamari hid it in her hair. To say Hinata and Ino were proud of their work would be an understatement. "I do such a good job," Ino wailed with proudness in her tone. "My makeup skills are improving." Booyeah. Tamari, Tenten and Sakura stared at Hinata and Ino as if they have grown two heads. Tamari suddenly shook her head and left the room, Sakura and Tenten trailing after her. They all had an invisible ear device so they can communicate to each other. Sakura had the job of a waitress while Tenten was the drop-in DJ. Hinata would be on the lookout for the black, and Ino would be writing down every information Tamari would get out of Nori. Hinata hid in the shadows of the alley between the club and takeaway restaurant. In her hand, there was a picture of Nori Takeshi, so she would know when he would show up. Even Hinata had to admit he was handsome with his high cheekbones and tight jaw. He had beautiful aqua blue eyes and light brown hair, almost considered a very dark blonde. Pearl eyes stared ahead before she expertly jumped on the rooftop opposite the club. A familiar brunette came into her line of vision and Hinata watched him and his group enter the club after flashing the bouncer their ID cards. She pressed a finger to her ear device and said, "The bird is in the cage with his mates." Static was heard and then Temari's voice flowed out, "Got it. Sakura, it's your turn." "Hi." Sakura's reply was immediate. Said Rosette was tugging the skirt of her required waitress uniform to cover more of her legs. It went 2 inches above mid-thigh, like Temari's dress, and it was strapless. The color was a nice forest green and there were white laces on her chest, binding the uniforms together. Sakura sighed before grabbing a small notepad and a pencil from the small white apron over her skirt. She approached the black group and was aware of the lustful gazes of the males in the room. She stopped in front of their table and forced a flirty smile on her lips. "What can I get you gentlemen? Batting eyelashes and cocking hips? Check. Lustful eyes on body? Check. Flirting? Check. Annied by Ino and will kill her later on? Check." Sakura received the orders and walked to the bartender, her hips swaying seductively. Ino has been talking through the ear device about her list and Sakura was getting annoyed by every word that reached her ears. Way to kill the mood, forehead. Sakura can actually imagine Ino pouting on the other line. Sakura gathered the ordered drinks and transferred them to their victim's table. A few ass-gripping moments later for Sakura, Tenten went on stage. Her outfit was seductive too. A little makeup here and there and voila. A beauty is created. She wore a gem green off-the-shoulder shirt that stopped 1 inch under the bottom of her S and flaring black miniskirt. An equally black headphone rested around her neck. She grabbed the mic. "Are you all ready to partyyyy?" She turned the mic to the audience. "Yeah." She turned the mic back to herself. "I can't hear you." She turned the mic back to the audience. "Yeah." Back to herself. "Much better." The music started next. Bodies crashed together as they danced to the fast-beat song. Tenten spun the records at the DJ table and everyone had a good time. Sakura grabbed her earpiece. "Tem, it's your go." She quickly added, "Good luck." Hinata, Ino and Tenten secretly wished her good luck too. Tamari looked over to their target and waited until he noticed her stare. She winked at him when their gazes connected before she turned away and ordered an alcoholic drink. "Why hello beautiful," their target purred while his blue eyes scanned her form from behind. Tamari covered a shiver of disgust but forced herself to bat her eyelashes and made a flirty smile stretch across her lips. Her drink that she ordered arrived shortly and Sakura delivered it. She threw a wink at Nori just to be playful before she went and took the rest of the orders. Tamari had to bite her tongue so that she wouldn't laugh out loud when she saw Nori's eyes flare with interest. Tamari knew that if she failed to seduce Nori then either Sakura or Tenten can take over and seduce him too. It has to be either her, Sakura or Tenten who will seduce him. Hinata went back to their hotel room and sat down with Ino, noticing a note already written down on her notepad. Easily interested in women he never saw before. Hinata nodded in approval. Tenten's voice broke through their ear device. He likes suggestive song lyrics. "Write it down." Ino replied with a, "Got it." Back at the club, things were going as planned, faster than they expected thing to happen though. Nori was already caressing Temari's thigh and his hand slid up even further, to the hem of her short dress. Tamari had to fight the urge to break his hand but that would blow her cover. Instead, she smiled and trailed a finger from his neck to his chest, his open shirt providing access to his hard abs. It also didn't take long for Nori to grab her hand and literally drag her to the back of the building where a number of bedrooms were built in. Pleasured screams, moans and groans echoes around the empty hallway. A pool of disgust gathered in Temari's stomach. Nori kicked open a door as he crashed his lips on Temari's neck. In a second, they were on the bed, Temari trapped between Nori and the bed. The time to gather the required information for their village has come. It was now or never. Goddess love. Temari walked out of the room with a scroll in her hands. Just 2 minutes ago she injected the needle filled with a deadly poison into Nori's neck while he was vulnerable. While she checked his clothes for anything useful, she came across a scroll, the very same scroll that is now in her possession. It was all about the future attacks Otogakure will be carrying out on different villages. The reason for it is that the hidden villages always looked down on the village that was found by Orochimaru decades earlier. They wanted revenge. Kunoichi met at their hotel room and they discussed the issues of Otogakure. Are they going to declare war? Maybe, I'm not too sure of it myself. They do not have a right to do that. Girls, what Tenten? Tenten looked up from the scroll Temari found earlier and her face was a pale. You need to look at this. They gathered around the scroll and they were all shocked at the small pictures that were in the bottom left corner. Their replacements' faces stared back at them with cheerfully. The realization that their replacements were spies from Otogakure left Hinata, Sakura, Ino and Tenten feeling cold. Who knows what information they gathered now that they are an official Leaf Nin. Every ninja in the Leaf would learn their village's secrets if they are trusted enough. Kunoichi is trusted. Temari is trusted too, even if she was originally a Sand Nin. Needless to say, the moment the fact that there are spies in Konohagakure right at this minute sank into their minds, Kunoichi flashed away at lightning speed, with only one goal in mind: save the Leaf. One moment, they were staring at the beige wall of their hotel room, the next the familiar decoration and their one and only Godem Hokage flashed before their eyes. Tsunade looked up, surprised at the sudden appearance of the 5 goddesses she shelters in her village. And the way they look haunted made her feel uneasy. Tsunade-sama. They quickly bowed in respect before Temari presented the scroll the cold truth was revealed from. She quietly placed the cylinder-shaped object on the Hokage's desk and stepped back. Tsunade cautiously picked up the scroll and spread it out on her desk. Look on the bottom left corner. Came Hinata's quiet voice. The blonde did as she was asked, and to say she was shocked would have been an understatement. But along with the shock, fury bubbled in her chest. She knew that the 4 replacements had some dark intentions the moment she laid eyes on them the day Konoha 12's males and their senseis arrived back from their mission. And she, the fool, allowed them in on a few of Konoha's secrets. What is the meaning of this? She roared through the silence. No reply. Silence. Ino stepped up, blonde hair trailing behind her obediently from her usual ponytail. We just found out, Tsunade-sama. Shizune, who barged in after Tsunade had yelled, gasped quietly to herself as she got a good look at the scroll the girls brought back. Shizune, I need sake. Girls, you're dismissed. The busty Hokage rubbed her temples irritably. They walked outside, white capes draped over them to cover their outfit from their mission. Hinata sighed silently as she put her hair up in a high ponytail with her aqua blue ribbon above the black hairband Tenten handed her. Her thick fringe fell over her eyes lightly, though the wind pushed it out. Ino suddenly stopped, her eyes changing into a beautiful purple as she stared off into space, her face blank. The others stopped too, knowing what was wrong with Ino. Ino's vision. Pictures of Sakura, Tenten, Hinata and Temari flashed in her mind, one after another. Her picture came last. All the pictures showed the Kunoichi blur while their hands glowed with their goddess chakra above the chest of someone. Ino didn't know what that meant. Her eyes changed back to their usual blue color. Without looking at the others, she sprinted away towards their home. The remaining members of Kunoichi looked at each other before sprinting off after their blue-eyed friend. By the time they got home, Ino was frantically looking through an aging book, flipping through the yellow pages and fingering the crunchy noises it gave off. What are you looking for? Hinata asked curiously as she placed her cloak on a hanger in their extra closet in the living room. I saw images in my vision. I want to know what that meant. Ino muttered back while she continued to flip through the book. While Temari and Tenten helped Ino look for the answer to her vision, Sakura and Hinata went to change into more comfortable clothes. They both wore shirts that are too big for them and dark blue short shorts underneath the material, going unnoticed. They also put a white apron over their clothing before tying their hair up. They grabbed a few buckets of lilac paint and thick brushes before they went into Ino's room. Her furniture was placed in the spare room they had because Ino wanted a new color for her room. Since they brought the house, they were able to decorate it the way they wanted. Currently, Ino's walls were a light beige color, and since Ino liked the color purple, Sakura and Hinata volunteered to paint her room lilac. Hinata had a very skillful hand in painting, able to paint even the smallest of details in a piece of work. Ino requested that she paint stars on her walls with orange. She even asked Sakura to create a sculpture of a star, the height of herself. Sakura grabbed a paint roller and dipped it in the tray full of lilac paint. She smeared it on the wall, Hinata doing the same. They worked in silence, hearing Tenten, Tamari and Ino talk about the latter's vision. So basically, you saw us all blur while we had our goddess chakra in use and it looked like we gave our life energy to someone? Tenten asked Ino. Yes. Sakura's eyes widened before she quickly placed the paint roller in the tray and dashed to the living room's bookcase. She looked for a particle title and when she found it, she quickly pulled it out. As she flipped through the book, her mind was dark with thoughts. She finally found the page she was looking for. The title said, Life Energy Transfer. As a god or goddess, they have two lives. One is the basic and normal life, and the other is the god or goddess life. If they wish, they can transfer their basic life energy to someone who is dead, and then their figure will blur as they are transported to another dimension as a god or goddess. Before they completely get transferred, the god or goddess whom gave their life energy to the dead can give a small portion of their power to someone. With this, the person whom they gave their power to can get in contact with them even if they are in another dimension. The room was silent as the book was passed around. Nobody dared to say a word. The next day, word that Gaara was kidnapped by the Akatsuki came and they knew they would lose someone. Because nobody can survive the tailed beast's extraction. Goddess love. As they flew in the air on top of a shadow bird, they clearly knew that one of them would sacrifice their life in exchange for Gaara's, but whether it would be Tamari or Sakura, they couldn't tell. Both of them are close to Gaara, Tamari because they are siblings and Sakura, well, Sakura had a strong friendship with the redhead. It was understandable. They finally arrived at the base, and they saw Gaara lying on the floor, eyes closed. Tamari and Sakura saw red. Unconsciously, their seals on their palms glowed their respective color, and glowing marks slowly spread up their arm, onto their face and down their leg. They dived down at an incredible speed towards the Akatsuki members. Sakura's eyesight on Sasori. A battle of rage began. Goddess love. By the time Sasori and his puppet were dead, the others gathered around Gaara. The sand team that has set off with them were there too. Matsuri and an unknown girl crying in hysterics. It annoyed the hell out of Kunoichi. Step aside. Everyone obeyed and they took a couple of steps back, revealing Sakura who looked down at Gaara with unreadable eyes. She kneeled down beside his body. Her seal glowed an angry red. Kaden growled in her mind, knowing what she was about to do. She placed her right palm, the sealed palm, on his chest, above his non-beating heart. Her hands glowed the same angry red as her seal and she placed her left palm on his forehead, middle finger caressing the red kanji for love. Without a sound, a seal glowed around the two of them in a circle, flowing from the ground. Fire swirled around them gently, the sand remaining untouched. Sakura closed her already blood-red eyes. The scenery changed. The background was yellow in color and many orange bubbles floated around. Imagine the scenery when Naruto meets his mother in the anime. Sakura turned several times before she spotted a head full of spiky red hair. Gaara. Gaara quickly turned at the voice of someone familiar. He saw Sakura, scratched at the arms and cheek, but she was looking at him with love. A love between siblings. Cherry? She cracked a smile. Panda. How? She looked down with darkening eyes, sorrow swimming in those green orbs. You died. Gaara looked shocked. Then how come you're here? He was almost scared to hear the response. She looked up, crystal tears gathering in her eyes, and she smiled a small smile. I am giving you my life energy. Gaara felt cold. The fact that the person he loved most would die to bring him back to life scared him. There would be no more suffocating hugs, no more laughter, no more bright smiles, no more pink hair. No more Sakura. Why? His voice was breaking as tears clouded his vision, but he made no move to wipe them away as they rolled down his cheeks. She just smiled bigger. Because I love you, Gaara, big brother. She let out a few quiet sobs as her tears dropped onto the ground, leaving nothing in its wake. Her seal glowed and she knew it was time. Without thinking, she launched herself at Gaara, her arms wrapping around his neck as she spoke with a broken tone. Thank you for letting me love you, Gaara. For letting me get to know you. Don't forget my next words. Those who smile more than Anjay are always stronger. Okay, so smile more for me. Her figure started to separate, small sparkles eating away at her body, but she still held on to Gaara, her last hug. Even as her figure disappeared, her voice still echoed around him, smile for me. Goddess love. Everyone watched as both Gaara and Sakura shed a tear. Gaara's chest suddenly started to rise and fall in a calming rhythm. Sakura's figure started to get fainter and fainter with each passing second and she opened her eyes, empty and see-through. And she locked gazes with Temari, Ino, Tenten and Hinata. Her voice echoed around their minds, even when her figure completely disappeared. Watch over him in my place. See you on the other side. Ino burst into tears and she fell to her knees, crying her eyes out before she faced the sky and screamed in agony. Forehead. Temari looked towards her youngest brother as he lay on his bed. He has refused to speak to anyone ever since Sakura passed away and he kept stroking the blood-red fire-shaped tattoo on his chest right above his heart. It had appeared right after Sakura's life energy entered his body and revived him. Temari stayed in Suna to keep Sakura's wish. Look after him for me. It was unfair. Temari felt like it was her fault. She was supposed to give her life for Gaara's. It was the duty of an older sister. But Sakura had beaten her to it. It was unfair, she repeated in her head. But life is unfair, Tem. Her eyes widened at the familiar voice in her head. Sakura, no need to shout. This can't be happening. You're dead. I am dead in that world, true, but remember that we have two life forces. Basic and Goddess. Then where are you? Another dimension. The dimension that you will all enter once you save someone's life by giving them your basic life energy. Don't rush it though, enjoy life while you can. Her voice faded by the end of the sentence and it didn't come back, no matter how many times Temari has called out to her. She was faintly aware that Gaara has gone to sleep. Gaara's dream. Gaara Pav. I am somehow standing in the middle of a field full of fresh grass and flowers. A lake is set on my right side while a forest is on my left. Giggling drew my attention to the forest, where, high above the tree branches, hidden in the leaves, was a girl with a familiar face and a familiar smile. Who are you? I asked. The girl giggled again, separating two branches to show more of her face. You forgot about me already? She pouted, doing a very familiar puppy face. I then saw that color of her hair, and my eyes widened. Sakura. Sakura smiled cheekily as she stood up on her branch and jumped down to the big roots of the tree. You remember. How could I not? She gave her life energy to save me. Do not jump to conclusions fast, Gaara. I am still dead in this world. Then how is it possible that you are here? She smiled again before quickly disappearing. Her voice was not behind me. I have my ways. She continued. Sometimes you will see me in your dreams, sometimes you will hear my voice in your mind. Do not get scared. The reason I am doing this is because I set myself a goal. This goal is that I would help my friends and comrades when they are needed. There will be times that I will tell you a secret, and times when I am giving you a warning. It's my goal, and I want to complete it. I looked towards her and saw determination set on her face. It reminded me of Naruto's determination. She smiled to me once more, before she disappeared, her figure never moving, but her image fading. I'll always be with you, Gaara. End. Gaara's eyes shot open just as the dream ended. Sweat slid down his face, indicating a nightmare. Sakura, Gaara knew, would haunt him forever. But he strangely didn't mind if it was her. Goddess love. Softly sighing, the woman broke the connection between her and the redhead cage. It was good to see and hear his voice again, knowing he was alive this time. Once she was transported into this dimension, Sakura met a young boy who looked no older than 6 or 7. And when he introduced himself as Kaden, he was amused when she went all younger Hinata and fainted. With short, deep red hair and eyes of the same color, Kaden really did represent fire very well. And, well, it still didn't stop her from hugging the life out of him while ignoring the fact that he was turning a strange shade of blue from the lack of oxygen. She sighed before standing up, brushing any dust from her dress. When she was transported here, she appeared in her own room that a gigantic tree has to offer. Imagine the huge tree in Avatar, the movie, not the anime. The whole room was made of wood, obviously, since the house was a tree too. The walls, the floor, the bed, everything. The window was just a fairly large hole in the wood, nothing installed to keep the cold out, so it can get quite chilly in the room at nighttime. The tree was divided into two sections, one for the gods, and one for the goddesses. Let's just say, Sakura was very glad for that to happen. Some of the gods were perverts. Everyone had a style of fashion according to their powers. Sakura's dress is a one-shoulder, left, deep red in color, and going to her knees with 2 gold belts and golden ballerina shoes. Her hair was left down, though it had gained golden hairbreadth between long locks of pink hair, creating a glowing in the sun effect. It was slightly wavy and a gold fire flame-shaped hairpiece rested on the right side of her head. The slits on the side of her dress was what she was most worried about. It attracted the perverted gods. Now that she thought about it, the majority of the gods were perverts, including the fire god. Sakura sighed before she picked up her small notebook. She flipped a few pages before she grabbed a pencil and put a cross next to Gaara's and Temari's names in the list of people. The pages contained the names of the people she had to pay a visit to in either their mind or in their dreams. People to visit: Gaara X, Temari X, Ino, Tenten, Hinata, Sai, Yamato. Yamato and Sai have been very close friends to her ever since Pele was sealed inside of her. They supported and took care of her whenever the girls couldn't. Sakura missed them both dearly. Well, she just has to pay a visit to her. Maybe look into her memories and find out things? Grinning like a madman, madwoman, Sakura set to work. Oh yes, she had it all planned. Goddess Love. Ino has been in connection with Sakura for a few minutes now, and Sakura told her of her plan about so really, Ino wasn't surprised when a horrified scream echoed around Konohagakure this lovely morning. Let's just say that the plan involved Sasuke and a very furious Sakura. Smiling happily for the first time since Cherry's death, Ino thought, yep, this morning is full of joy. Goddess Love. A little sneak peek wouldn't hurt now, would it? Okay then, let's see Sak's plan, shall we? Eyes sleep. Sakura grins madly. Nightmare time, she sang. Pav. Like always, I focused on having my extremely smexy Sasu-kun in my dream. And like always, he saves me from every threat and then he announces that he loves me with all his heart. Haha, take that, you pink-haired hussy. I thought happily as I watched my Sasuke take his shirt down, showing me his Sing six-pack. I squealed in delight. Just who are you calling a hussy, you little whore? I squeaked before calming myself, knowing that Sasuke would come to my rescue. I waited patiently for his arms to envelope me in a tight embrace, but it never came. I looked towards where I last saw him and my jaw instantly met the floor. There he was, my Sasu-kun kissing the pink-haired hussy. And the bitch had the nerve to smirk at me. End. Goddess Love. Tenten's Pav. I don't know which was scarier, hearing an all-too-familiar scream so early in the morning or seeing my recently deceased friend grinning like a Cheshire cat while she was see-through. See-through. Hey Double T. I think she saw me staring at her strangely because she suddenly laughed. I pouted. Not fair. Don't be so sad. Saku is here to cheer you up. No you aren't. Fine. I looked at her expectantly and waited for her to explain what happened on that day. I gave up my original life force to save Gaara. I am only here because of a warning. She looked serious, even though she had just said that she basically sacrificed herself for another. She looked me dead in the eye and said, Orochimaru is planning on an attack to the leaf. Goddess Love. Tsunade Shisho. The blonde Hokage woke up instantly at the alarming tone in her head. She faintly recalled that she knew that voice. Sakura? Hi. I am giving you a warning. What kind of warning? My resources tell me that Orochimaru is planning an attack on Konoha to capture anyone with great powers that would help him in his goal of immortality. When is this attack? You have a week to prepare. They are attacking directly from the Hokage monument. Be careful. Tsunade no longer heard her student's voice in her head. Immediately, she called for Shizune to deliver a number of very important scrolls to her shinobi. Once Shizune was gone, Tsunade reached into her top drawer that was built in her desk and pulled out a familiar red ribbon. She stared at the long piece of fabric for a long time, reliving her most treasured memories of her recently deceased student and later apprentice, unaware of the teardrops trailing down her face silently and onto the red fabric of her ribbon. Faintly, she came to a conclusion. She died to keep a village going. Goddess love. Ino sat on the rooftops of their house. Her bedroom remained incomplete, buckets of paint sitting on the ground with the brushed lay on top of their lid. She was staring at the stars. Her new passion for them remained unexplained, although she guessed that it was because she was the goddess of light, after all. Tenten silently sat down beside the blonde, her chocolate brown eyes taking in the appearance of her best friend, sister. Through the makeup, she could see the dark circles under Ino's eyes, clearly indicating sleepless nights. Her face was pale, even with the amount of face powder she applied onto it. She only uses the powder, the cream doesn't work on her skin, she claimed. Are you alright, Ino? The blonde ignored her question, starting to let her sorrow out. Even though Forehead and I were rivals in our younger years, I always pictured the two of us growing old, like best friend, you know. And as she broke down crying, Tenten could do nothing but hug her tightly. She couldn't say everything is going to be alright, because nothing is alright anymore. Goddess love. Naruto cheerfully walked down the street towards Ichiraku ramen stand for his daily dining there, although he didn't imagine seeing Hinata sitting there quietly just staring blankly at her reflection the soup provided. Hey Hinata-chan. His joyful greeting made Hinata uncharacteristically flinch, but soon composed herself and promptly ignored the whiskered man who took a seat next to her. Naruto was puzzled from the lack of reaction to his greeting, but he started to order his usual miso ramen nonetheless. Itadakimasu. Naruto snapped the chopsticks apart and dove into his food as soon as it arrived before him. Naruto didn't like the silence, so he decided to start a conversation with Hinata. So, how are you, Hinata-chan? I haven't seen you lately. Her reply was short. Fine, but even that was quieter than usual. Why are you so silent all of a sudden? Actually, why are the girls silent? Did something happen? She looked at him through the corner of her eye, and whispered emotionlessly, she died. Even if her tone was emotionless, inside she was crying, wailing out her sorrow for the death of her pink-haired friend. Azure eyes blinked before he slowly asked, who died? A bad feeling was starting to churn in his gut, heavy and surprisingly guilty feeling. Hinata mumbled silently before paying her bill and leaving the stand, a carefully folded note sitting where she did a few seconds ago. Naruto cautiously picked up the note, unfolded it, and the feeling in his gut tripled in weight and size, because there, on the small note, was one single name that made everything blur as his heart squeezed painfully. Sakura. Goddess love. Tsunade's door burst open, leaving the wooden barrier barely clinging to the hinges before a pained shout pierced through the air. What do you mean Sakura-chan is dead? Her eyes squeezed shut tightly, her hand fisting around the ribbon before she slowly took a deep breath and let it out shakily, a sign that she was about to cry herself. Naruto? She heard him take a deep breath before he asked again, slowly and dangerously. I asked, what do you mean Sakura is dead? She knew that when he dropped the suffix at the end of her former student's name he was dead serious. She died. That's the truth, as much I want to change it, I can't. She looked over her shoulder, noting that in the moonlight spilling in through her window she can see that his pupils have stretched and became slits, just like Kurama. Tsunade stiffened and she saw that he froze as well, because he faintly recognized that voice. Sakura-chan, he breathed out. Sakura was standing in the shadows, her features glowing eerily with her ghost-like appearance, the color of her eyes and hair faint but noticeable. I'm dead, Naruto. You have to accept that. I don't really care how you deal with it, but do it. Harsh, that's what Tsunade thought. Even Naruto himself looked hurt and pained, his pupils narrowing back to their small circles as crystal tears gathered in his eyes and silently trailed down his whiskered face. Go now, be with Hinata. She needs you the most right now. Even if she looks all tough, she still has a sensitive heart. Naruto didn't know why, but he obediently went to carry out this task. No matter what, stay with her. She needs you. Don't be deceived by her tough act. Stay with her. Sakura's voice echoed around in his mind as he ran to the place he somehow knew Hinata would be. Upon arriving at the park, he saw the familiar silhouette of Hinata sitting on the swing with her head down and hands clenching the chains that held the wooden material up. He quietly approached her, noticing that she lifted her head up with a glare on her face that she hoped would make the intruder leave. Once she saw that it was Naruto, it softened a bit but it still stayed on her face. I'm here to talk, he said finally, the wind blowing gently that made Hinata look angelic in the soft glow of the moonlight. Naruto thought to himself why he hadn't noticed her beauty before. Oh, that's right. He spent all his time chasing after Sakura, knowing she wouldn't but hoping she would accept his love. It was all over now. Hinata looked away as Naruto sat down on the spare swing next to Hinata's. Minutes passed by slowly, and when he thought he should leave, Hinata suddenly spoke up quietly. The bond between Sakura and I may have never been as strong as between her and Ino. It was deep enough to be noticed. He didn't know how to respond to that, but he somehow knew what to say to her. I noticed it when I came back. Pearly silver eyes stared at him through a curtain of dark hair and he stared back quietly. They didn't notice that the space between them was becoming shorter and shorter until they felt themselves connect with a kiss. They closed their eyes and enjoyed the moment until it lasted. Faint green eyes watched the scene across from her with adoration. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.